Hello, everyone. I'm Dijon,
Not my era.
and welcome to the Mustardcast, the podcast about the art of storytelling and how it's used across different mediums. Make sure that you like, comment, and subscribe if you want to see our channel grow, and to click the notification bell so that you're notified when we post. As always, free Palestine, and do everything you can to support them. This is going to be the first episode where we switch things up. Clips will be changing, and they will be eliminated. Because I just don't feel like doing them anymore. But I'm low-key might be replacing them with something slightly more complicated but shorter form.
Mm,
Because I want to start making like shorter, like minute-long reels that are like condense some of our conversations.
right.
Some of the big conversations about hot topics like Superman and things like that we've been talking about lately. But to do that, there needs to be some level of visual interest. So I'm gonna try and find a
Hmm.
way to make some motion graphics using the illustrations given to us by Bree, who will be on the podcast with us later today for the comic section, and kind of just make some interesting short clips that can be posted in the taller format on social platforms
Hmm.
versus the clips that I usually do of just taking the segments I think are the most important from each episode and posting one on the our off weeks every day. And instead, now the podcast is going to be split into four parts. It's going to be a full podcast episode posted, and then the days after that, those four parts, the animation, comics, TV and film, and video game sections are going to be posted separately as well. And they should all be around like 30, 45 minutes long, maybe sometimes an hour, depending on some conversations. Sometimes me and Christian can go on long. Um, but yeah, that'll kind of be the structure moving forward. But as
Hmm.
usual, we'll start with animation. So what cartoons animation have you been watching lately?
Let me think. Let me think. Let me think. Oh, I've been watching the new seasons of Penny and Stocking. Mostly just the first episode, which just came out. And it is way raunchier than it was in the 2000s, but I think it's to its benefit. Raunchy for raunchy's sake, but it's very clearly like they're trying to do all the things they wanted to do with original Panty and Stocking and couldn't get away with. Um, which is really really fun. The animation is really good, and I've just been really enjoying it. And it's been making me want to go back and like rewatch the old Panty and Stocking to compare. It's also a lot more colorful, which I was not expecting, but they really made it work. I have to watch the rest of it probably within the coming days. I think that's it. I really haven't had time to watch much because work has been super busy. But on my docket, at the very least, is new season of Dun 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 for sure. Um, there's another thing, and I can't remember what it was, but if it comes to me, I'll say it. So I've got a couple things coming down the pipeline as things start to slow down at the job. But for right now, the only thing I've actually put my eyeballs on is Panty and Stocking.
Yeah, I never watched Penny and Stocking. I'm not sure that particularly interests me, but I've always seen like clips and stuff from it. For me, I finally finished my uh, rewatch and complete watch of Avengers: Those Mightiest Heroes, and it's a great show. It's easily the best Avengers adaptation ever made, even more so than the movies. It's so good. I
Mm.
highly suggest watching it if you're into Marvel and Avengers, especially. Um, yeah, Blind Wave is still watching it. They're like halfway through the second season, so I'm still watching it alongside them. Uh, Blind Wave has one episode left on Superman the animated series, so I'm almost done
Ooh.
rewatching it. Rewatching with them, or
Mhm.
jumbling my words, rewatching Superman with them. But in the meantime, they've started watching Batman Beyond. So I'm continuing my
Ooh.
personal rewatch from where I left off in the middle of season two and watching it from the beginning with Blind Wave. And Batman Beyond is so
Mhm.
good. I'm so mad that WB shot down that pitch for an animated Batman Beyond movie in the style of Spider Verse. I'm so mad that would have been such a banger. It's
Yeah.
and Batman, but the one of the best things about Batman Beyond is the fact that 99.9% of the villains are original villains made for the show. They're not reusing
Right.
a bunch of Batman villains for the show. They make a bunch of new ones, and it's awesome. And they're all good. There's only like I think one or two returning Batman villains in it.
Oh wow.
Still watching One Piece with Blind Wave as well. And they've reached the Sanji arc. I didn't watch their most recent the most recent episode they're on yesterday, but I watched it later today. Same thing with Dan to Dan. I didn't watch the most recent episode 3, but I watched the first 2. But later today, I'll check out the rest of the Dan to Dan.
Gotcha.
So I also watched the only 2 episodes of the latest season of Love, Death, and Robots that I was remotely interested in. How Zeke Got Religion, directed by Diego Porral and animated by Titmouse. On a perilous mission into hostile territory, the crew of a World War II bomber encounters an unholy enemy. Really good episode. Is of the 2, I think this was my favorite one. It was really good. I was just looking at the thumbnails and I was like, okay, which ones are 2D animated? Which ones look cool? And this was one of them, and it was really good. It was incredible. And the other one was 400 Boys, directed by Robert Valley, and animated by Passion Animation Studios. And Robert Valley, I talk about him as often as I can. He worked on Tron, what is called Uprising, the animated series. And he's made 3 other episodes for the last 3 seasons of Love, Death, and Robots. So he's been in this show a lot, and his episodes are always some of the best. His art style is so unique. If you look up Robert Valley art, you'll see it. It's very unique, very distinctive. It's very similar to the art style of Tron Uprising. And this was done in 2D, but it doesn't look like it. It's like I don't know if you ever watched Klaus, the animated Christmas movie on Netflix. That is 2D, but drawn in a way to where it looks 3D. It's 400 Boys.
Oh, yeah.
400 Boys is very similar in that sense, and it was really good. The synopsis of the episode is discovering if they are gods or giants. All this band of survivors knows is that they're deadly, and they'll have to set aside their own turf war to stop them. It's like this post-apocalyptic England, and it's a bunch of street gangs banding together to stop these giant babies that are destroying the world. It's weird, and they have these weird psychic supernatural powers. It's very interesting. I definitely suggest checking out those 2 shorts at the very least. Moving on to news and animation, I sent you the trailer. This was a while ago at this point for the most recent trailer for the Chainsaw Man movie, the Reze arc, or how do you pronounce it? Reze, or is it Reze? Reze?
I don't know.
I think it's Reze. Reze makes sense. It's a Japanese name. And we got another trailer for this movie that's releasing in theaters in the US in October 29th. And beautiful animation by Mappa as usual. But let those animators rest after they make Dorohedoro season 2. But after that, they can rest. But based on the trailer alone, it seems like they're using a lot less CGI for the fight scenes, which isn't necessarily a good or bad thing, since the CGI was good in the first season. It's just something I noticed.
Right.
Movies tend to have bigger budgets than shows, so that's probably why they're hand animating almost everything this time around. But the trailer itself frames itself around Denji's romantic endeavors with Makima and the titular Reze. I don't even remember how I just pronounced it. And if you haven't read the manga and don't want to be spoiled, I suggest just not watching any of the trailers and going blind and stay off the internet because this blows up the big reveal, pun completely intended.
That's what to say.
Halfway through the trailer, they if you're looking for it, you'll notice a big spoiler. If you're watching absentmindedly, you might not notice, but there's definitely the big spoiler of the whole arc is in this trailer. But yeah, I'm excited for it. It looks good. I like Chainsaw Man.
It's nice to get some news after so much radio silence.
Yeah.
Also,
It comes up relatively soon, a couple months from now.
Yeah.
But speaking of Chainsaw Man, moving on to comics. Of course, reading Chainsaw Man, one of the mini manga I'm reading. I feel like it was kind of slow for a while with the current arc, but it picked up a few months ago, and now it's at a really good spot that I'm enjoying a lot. Still watching, reading. I mean, Kagurabachi, and all the memes, man, they were
They're
true.
true.
It's so good. Kagurabachi, every chapter, incredible. The art is so good. It's so good. Kagurabachi's great. Kaiju number 8 is close to wrapping up. Or at least this
Oh
is what it
wow.
feels like. I don't know if this next chapter is the last chapter, but it feels like it might be. Because it's a long chapter. It is 40, it's 49 pages, and the last, like,
Mhm.
they just beat the big bad of the entire series in like the last
Oh
chapter.
wow.
So I'm like, this feels like it's about to be the end. So either this is the last chapter, or maybe there's one or two more. But I'll have to get around to reading that. But of course, I've read the chapters before that over the last few months, since the last time I brought
Mhm.
it up. And still reading Chojin X, by Sui Ishida, the creator of Tokyo Ghoul. I hate how long these chapters are. I wish they weren't so long. every chapter this dude releases is like 40 pages long, and I'm like, please,
Oh wow,
I,
that's a lot.
please, I have a family. I can't spend all my
Release
time reading
me.
this. Um, I also recently read Game Informer issue 369, because Game Informer is back from the dead, and I subscribed
Yay!
to their magazine and got the first issue back. And the cover story is Borderlands 4, and the cover's pretty good. I don't care for Borderlands, but it's a good cover.
Mm.
The art, I mean. And yeah, I didn't read all of it, but I read through a decent amount of it. And I had I'm like, let me go check out this Doom review, even though I like watched their review on YouTube. I still was like, let me read it. um, and just read through just some of it, just to get that whole Game Informer experience. Because when they had got shut down by GameStop, before they went independent, I
Mhm.
copied or copped the like most recent issues that I was interested in. I copped the Final Fantasy VII Rebirth issue, the
Ooh.
Hades issue, because it had a gorgeous cover done by the lead concept artist for Hades. Um,
Mm.
and I copped was it No Rest for the Wicked, because I'm excited for that game, and it also had a great cover. And the very last issue that they released, which was the cover story, was for Dragon Age of Ilgard. Um,
Mhm.
and that was it. And then I also went and picked up some older ones off eBay of like games with covers that I was just I'm stuttering so much. Covers that I was interested in. I copped or three Dishonored ones, because I think the Dishonored 2 covers had two different covers. So I got both of
Mm.
those. Which one was because there's two characters you can play as in that, and I got both covers. And then I got the cover for the very
Mhm.
first Dishonored, or the issue for that had the very first Dishonored on the cover from 2012. So yeah.
Got you.
Um, and now that is officially the oldest one I have. Before that, the oldest one I had was Skyward Sword, with
Oh wow,
has a great cover.
it does.
But yeah, in terms of American comics, I read recently Poison Ivy number 34, Batman and Robin year 1 number 7 and 8, The New Gods number 5 and 6, Power Girl 19 and 20, which it seems like this is the end, unfortunately. Like the book was canceled. Because the
Oh.
very last page, it was like the end question mark or something. Yeah, I think it got canceled. I think it's over. I'm not surprised.
Oh.
I liked it. I was enjoying it, but
Mm.
I just don't think it was doing well enough to keep going. But it got a decent end. The
Mhm.
Flash, number 20 and 21. I mentioned last episode that I wasn't feeling the last arc, and that I hoped the next one would be better.
Right.
It's way better. Uh,
Banger.
Wally has discovered the ability to clone himself, and is fighting a war against Eclipso on the moon using his clones. And it's like very like World War One and Two adjacent, where they're like in trenches, and he's like sacrificing his
Oh wow.
clones, and it's like getting real dark. To the point to where his family had to bring the second Flash, Barry Allen, to Wally and be like, hey bro, stop. What are you doing?
Right.
Um, and I've been catching up on comics, so I read 4 issues or 5 issues of Batman Dark Patterns, 4, 5, 6, and 7. And it's so good.
Ooh.
Batman Dark Patterns is so good. For the first time in a long time, I'm reading multiple Batman books. I'm
Wow.
part of the problem now. But these are actually good. Uh, read Two Face issues number 2, 3, and 4. Catching up on that.
Mhm.
I read the most recent issue of Batgirl, which I forgot to put the number down. I think it's issue number 8. And the last couple issues have been chronicling kind of the backstory of her mother, Lady Shiva.
Mhm.
And for forever, I thought that Richard Dragon taught Lady Shiva, but it turns out that he was her peer, and like him and another one of the like best DC fighters, Bronze Tiger, um, trained alongside Lady Shiva and her sister when they were younger.
Mhm.
Red Green Arrow, number 24. Absolute Superman, number 8. Nightwing, number 120, 121. Absolute Flash, number 3 and 4. Justice League Unlimited, number 7. Absolute Batman, number 8. Absolute Green Lantern, number 3. Mr. Terrific Year 1, which was phenomenal. And Mr. Terrific has been getting a lot of attention lately because of Superman. He's real good in that movie.
Mhm.
And he might be getting a spin-off show or movie, which is
Oh,
exciting.
sick.
Action Comics, number 1087. Supergirl.
Oh, wow.
I mean, Action Comics was literally where Superman debuted in 1938.
Yeah.
So, yep, there were 1087 issues in.
Crazy work.
Been going almost 100 years. Supergirl, number 1 and 2. Batman and Robin, Jason Todd, number 1. There's 2 Batman and Robin books, one with Dick and one with Jason. Zatanna, number 5. Kyle Rayner Green Lantern Volume 1 from the 90s. I started reading this a while ago, then I stopped. But now that I'm caught up on comics, I now have time to read other comics. It's crazy.
Wow.
So I read that. And last but certainly not least, George Perez's Wonder Woman, Volume 2, which is a good transition, but too bad we're not transitioning. And instead, you tell me what you've been reading.
Okay. Yeah, more Lady Snowblood, which has been really nice. I've been really enjoying it. I'm gonna pick up like volumes 3 and 4 later in the week when I take 1 and 2 back to the library. I'm also gonna get more Hellsing because I'm really loving Hellsing so far, like a lot. It's very very funny, very campy. It's a good time. What else? There's another manga that I picked up and I can't remember what it's called now that I'm thinking about it. Oh, I've been rereading Bone, that graphic novel series, which has been really good. I forgot how good it was.
I've heard of that.
Yeah, I've been reading Bone. The whole thing is on Internet Archive, so now's as good a time as any to read it since it's up there. I've been rereading Bone. I've been rereading this manhwa that I really, really like called Under the Oak Tree because it finished, so now I can catch up completely. And I found that they have physical editions at Enoch Pratt, and so I picked that up and have been
That's
reading through
interesting.
it. The whole thing's in color.
Is it a like a vertical scroll?
Like the book, it's like the
Like
physical book,
like
or
like digitally?
oh yeah, it's a vertical scroll.
How do they translate that to a traditional book?
So the way that they did it, which I thought was really, really creative, is that they like group, I think like 2 pages per vertical scroll. Like what would be 2 pages in vertical scroll is 1 page in the book, and they kind of rearrange some of the panels to make it like work when you're reading it. It's really interesting. I'll send you pictures when I get a shot because I don't have it in front of me right now, but it's really cool. And it's really well adapted into a physical edition. And I think it's extra funny because it comes full circle because Under the Oak Tree started off as a web novel. And so now it's gone from web novel to webcomic adaptation right back to novel format.
There's
but
some
physical graphic novel.
DC has been doing a thing where they turn some comics into vertical scrolls. That's been interesting.
Mm-hmm.
I'm curious to see where they go with that because that's just a way that
Yeah.
I feel like a lot of younger people who read comics online read comics now, and they're used to that, and it makes a lot of sense with the way that phones work and people are used to scrolling. So I'm curious to see how DC handles that going forward. They do like straight up have like DC web comics that are made for vertical scrolling. Like the most famous one, which I'm sure you've heard of, is the Wayne Family Adventures, which causes a lot of discourse because unnecessarily for the most part, because it's like it can give a lot of people the wrong idea about a lot of those characters, but at the same time, it's like not canon, so it's not that serious. I feel like people get too butthurt over the characterization of some of those, and I'm just like, it's not canon. It's not that serious. It's just a fun little story that's meant to be like a slice of life with all of the various different Bat family members. But yeah, go ahead. Sorry, Andrew.
No, you're good. That's it. That's all I've got.
Yeah.
Just those three things because they're pretty hefty comics, all things considered. And of course, one secret thing.
So last episode, I pitched the idea of starting a kind of book club where I force my friends to read comic books. And today will be the first episode where we do that. I don't have an official name for it at the moment. You know, I'm sure I'll come up with it later. For now, it's just the Mustard Cast Book Club. And the first book I decided to start with was Wonder Woman Historia, The Amazons, because I love Wonder Woman. Yeah, you've heard me talk about Wonder Woman a lot, and how I feel about Wonder Woman, which I'll get into a bit later. And I need to get other people to understand why Wonder Woman is so important, and to just get a better understanding of the character, and kind of like try to encourage other people to read Wonder Woman stories and learn more about her character, because she deserves the world, but she does get it. But for this new section of the podcast, this book club, we have Jackal joining us for the third time. You previously joined us every time we talked about Arcane, the first time and the second time. So you want to just give a quick introduction?
Hello, it's me, Jack again. I'm very excited for this book club. I actually been waiting for this and like making art on the side. I have to send it later, but like, I'm so excited to talk about this.
Yeah. Also, Jackal has been doing the art for the podcast. The illustrations that I use in the thumbnails and in the overlay, that is all done by Jackal. So yeah, Wonder Woman Historia, The Amazons, is written by Kelly Sue DeConnick, with pencils and inks by Phil Jimenez, colors by Hi-Fi, Arif Prianto, and Romulo Fajardo Jr., or Fajardo Jr., I mean. Letters by Clayton Cowell, and the covers by Phil Jimenez and Romulo Fajardo Jr., and it is edited by Chris Conroy and Andy Colery. Just a brief synopsis before we get into the nitty-gritty. Millennia ago, Queen Hera and the goddesses of the Olympian pantheon grew greatly dissatisfied with their male counterparts. And far from their sight, they put a plan into action. A new society was born, one never before seen on Earth, capable of wondrous and terrible things. But their existence could not stay secret for long. When a despairing woman named Hippolyta crossed the Amazon's path, a series of events was set in motion that would lead to an outright war in heaven and the creation of the Earth's greatest guardian. So, before we even talk about the book, I want to just know. Well, actually, before I even ask you guys, I want to just talk about my history of Wonder Woman and how I feel about Wonder Woman. So, like I said, I love her. But it wasn't always this way. I've always liked Wonder Woman, but she wasn't always one of my favorite superheroes. I feel like a lot of my experience with the character came from Justice League, the animated series, and Justice League Unlimited, which I know you watched growing up, Ira, but Jackal, did you also watch those Justice League cartoons? Yeah, and like a lot of my experience with Wonder Woman came from that cartoon, and that colored my perspective on the character for a very long time. And I also grew up reading the New 52 of the DC Universe, which there was a lot of retcons in that, and one of them was that they first and foremost made Wonder Woman the daughter of Zeus, which is not her original origin, and they also made the Amazons a lot more violent. So in my mind, first and foremost, I think for most people, unfortunately, the Amazons are warriors, which they are, of course, but that's kind of like, it's not the only thing they are, but that's like kind of the main thing that people see. And also they perceive Wonder Woman, and for me, a very long time, in my mind, she was the member of the Justice League that was willing to kill. She was the one that was always like, she can kill somebody if she wants to. And that's not untrue. But it's kind of over-exaggerated just how willing she is to kill people. In reality, the level of willingness she has to murder a person is the exact same as Superman, because despite contrary belief, Superman is willing to kill as a last result if push comes to shove. Because in the 90s, when Superman died in the death of Superman at the hands of Doomsday, he also killed Doomsday, because Doomsday destroyed the Justice League and was destroying cities. And Superman was like, this nigga's got to die. And they fought each other to the death. And that is kind of like the lengths Wonder Woman has to be pushed to to want to kill somebody. She's not just going around murdering people. Um, and just I think a few years ago at this point, I decided to sit down and start reading a lot of Wonder Woman comics. I don't know what sparked this, but it just happened. And one of them, actually, it might have actually been this book. I might have just heard how good this book was, sat down and read it, and went, "Wow, this is awesome!" and started reading other Wonder Woman comics. What has been your guys' history with Wonder Woman? What were your thoughts of Wonder Woman before sitting down and reading this first issue of Wonder Woman, Historia of the Amazons?
Uh,
Same.
so,
Oh,
well,
go ahead.
thank you. But growing up, it was always just like the cartoons or like a movie where she starred in it, or was like not necessarily the main character, but like had a role in it. So I didn't really know much about her. I was kind of like, oh, this is just like a counterpart to Superman or something. Like I didn't know much lore about her, but like as I watched more like cartoons or like saw other movies, I was like, she has a lot more lore to her than what I've been like shown basically. Because like yeah, I know she's strong and has like this rope of truth and everything, but I was like, what's the story behind it? And I realized that there was like a bunch of like comics about her that I should have gotten into. But like you said earlier, how she's like willing to kill. I actually saw a clip earlier about how she freed a bunch of women, and those women that she freed grabbed like soldier's gun and just started like shooting all the men. And Superman showed up and was like, "What the heck? You didn't stop them?" She was like, "What do you mean? I just left them to their own devices." And I was like, "That's kind of cool, actually." And it's funny that you mentioned that Superman is also willing to kill, because I was watching a movie recently, Batman Yakuza, that was actually pretty good. OST is really, really good. But I was like, every time I've seen Superman, he's like always on the verge of like killing someone. And I'm like, he's always like low key kind of evil, but low key makes sense also.
That just made me want to put some Superman comics on the docket. because because I'm also forgetting, because the Superman's out right now, because nature is healing and people are starting to learn the type of person Superman's supposed to be. I forget that people do view Superman as like Omni-Man or Homelander, because those are the versions of Superman people have seen for so long, especially since the
Yeah.
last Superman movie before the one that we have, Superman killed the main villain at the very end of the movie. So like, I forget that that is how people see Superman. So now I got to start adding some Superman comics to the list.
Yes, please.
Get the Superman propaganda in there. My experience with Wonder Woman is very similar to yours. Like I said, I watched Justice League Unlimited a lot growing up, and like in my head, like I knew that there was more to her than what was in Unlimited, but there was also like this, because I didn't really read comics or like watch superhero stuff growing up. I was always just like, oh, girl superhero, and that was like the extent of my like. You got all the guy superheroes, and then there's Wonder Woman, who's the teen girl, which I know is like, now that I'm older, there's more to her than that. But like, I just found her rather interesting, but never really like knew where to kind of pique that interest a little more, which is unfortunate. But
Yeah.
now I'm in a place. I'm an adult. I can, yeah,
And
Mhm.
I mean, yeah,
yeah.
that's a big part of the problem that I have, is that like everybody knows Wonder Woman. And I think that, there's always a debate that can be had and a conversation that can be had about it. But I think that I feel like not many people can argue that she is the most popular woman superhero on the face of planet Earth, despite
Mhm.
how little people know about her. And that's kind of insane, isn't it? That like, despite how popular characters like Scarlet Witch and Storm and Captain Marvel are, and Harley Quinn, I think that very few people would actually care enough to argue whether or not they're more popular than Wonder Woman. I feel like most people would agree, like, yeah, of course Wonder Woman's the most iconic woman superhero on the face of planet Earth. It's Wonder Woman. But then you ask them any very specific details about the character, they know nothing. And that's insane, right? And a big part of that, and you guys mentioned it several times, there was nowhere for you to go. There were Superman cartoons. There's Batman cartoons. There's never been a Wonder Woman cartoon. That's insane. The most
Mhm.
popular woman superhero on the face of the planet Earth has never had her own cartoon. And that's all it takes. That's all it took for so many people to learn about so many superheroes, was for them to have a cartoon that really dives into their mythos. And I want to hope that we get one soon. But god damn it, it's been so long. She's been around since 1941, and she still doesn't have her own
Oh,
cartoon. She's had her own cartoon animated movies, direct to DVD. She's been featured in cartoons as a part of an ensemble cast with Justice League shows, Young
Hmm.
Justice,
Hmm.
DC Superhero Girls, but she's never had her own cartoon, and that's insane. Starfire is about to get a cartoon before Wonder Woman.
What?
Green Lantern,
Really?
Green Lantern Jessica Cruz, a Green Lantern that was made within the last 15 years, is about to get a cartoon before Wonder
What?
Woman. Harley
insane.
Quinn got a cartoon before Wonder Woman.
She has several cartoons and like plays in several movies.
Like, it's insane. Because you would think after the popularity of that first movie, they would have jumped on a Wonder Woman cartoon immediately. But the reality is, there's of course a level of sexism in this. Because when you think about it, your mind goes, there's no good reason for her not to have one. So why doesn't she? It can't be anything other than sexism, except that in the early 2000s, there was some legal issues. I don't know. I'm going to have to do some more research for this for the next episode when we talk about this again to figure out exactly what the legal issues were. But I know that for some reason they could not make a Wonder Woman cartoon in the 2000s. That was resolved at one point. They can make a Wonder Woman cartoon now. They just choose not to. And I think part of it is the power the character holds. If Superman's hope and Batman is justice or vengeance, Wonder Woman is peace. Despite how
Mm.
violent she's often portrayed, her whole thing is to do everything in her power to prevent things from happening non-violently. She's a diplomat. Her whole thing is peace and love. And that's why the Amazons were created in the first place, as we're going to get into. So let's just let's get into the comic stuff, and let's just start on the surface level with the art by pencils and ink by Phil Jimenez, but it's ultimately brought to life by the coloring of Hi-Fi, Arif, Prianto, and Romulo Fajaro Jr. Um, the art is incredible. I love that the Olympians look otherworldly, not just like humans,
Mhm.
just not just like Greek people in togas. They look they look like like biblically accurate angels almost.
Indeed.
Like they look biblical. They look like gods. Like what do you guys think about the art and the design of these Greek gods and goddesses?
I've seen many in Athena design in my day, but I have to say that the one in this comic is my favorite that I've ever seen. Period. Like,
Exactly.
there's just something about it that is so like attractive to the eye, and like combined with the art and the colors, it fits so well, but it also feels so out of place at the same time. And I think that really lends to like Athena's aspect as a goddess and like what she stands for. And I don't know, I just really like it. Also, the fact that they included Hecate at all,
Yeah, I actually wanted to
is
mention that
amazing
too,
to me.
because she's not often included among the 12 Olympians. And
Because she's
uh,
oh, go ahead.
what is do we call it? Chthonic god.
Yeah, she's chthonic, and so like people are like she's evil, but like she's not. She's not, and you should include her because especially like in a comic that is so focused on women and like women's experiences, that's like people consider Hera like one of the goddesses of women, but I would argue that Hecate is as well because witchcraft is was often seen as like a woman's thing,
Mhm.
and so like especially in like ancient Greek society, like they should explore that aspect of like I guess I want to call it the divine feminine, but I'm thinking of it in like a little more on a deeper level, and then I just can't put it into words. But like, yeah, they should portray her a lot
Yeah,
more. And I thought,
it also brings in an aspect of Wonder Woman that a lot of people aren't aware of again because there's just not a lot of information out there about Wonder Woman for the mass public, and it's that there's a lot of magic. Wonder Woman does magic. I feel like people think Wonder Woman, you think she can fly, she's strong, she can basically do everything Superman can do except for the laser eyes and the frost breath. I feel like that's what people see her as, but she also can do magic, and Hecate's
I
part of
did
that.
not know that.
And the current Absolute Universe comics, Wonder Woman,
Hmm.
just a kind of like brief picture what those are. It's basically what if you removed a key aspect of each character. For Superman, he was raised on Kansas, or not Kansas, Krypton, and then Krypton blew up. Batman isn't rich. Wonder Woman was not raised by Amazons. Instead, she was raised by one of her greatest enemies, Cersei, who is one of the Greek goddesses of magic. So that version of Wonder Woman is even more heavily focused on magic and doing a lot of magic. And recently, that's becoming more prevalent in Wonder Woman's kit. But yes, sorry, go on.
Oh, so when I first started reading this book, or at least this comic, I went in like 100% blind. I didn't even read the synopsis, so I didn't know what to expect.
I'm glad you
But the
trusted me.
art, I had to like, I did trust you, and I'm glad I did. I had to like take my time reading because like there's so much detail jam packed into every page. It's not something that you like can skim. And like there is like a type of flow to it that you kind of have to get used to. I'm not used to like them like there being multiple panels on one page like telling a different story. And also it like perfectly illustrates the female rage.
Oh yeah, it's
It's like everyone's crashing out
yeah,
and it's very valid.
it's very valid because getting into
Very
the story
valid.
itself, it's yeah, like you said, it's about like female rage, especially when they first go to create the Amazons and Artemis is she's crashing out. That's exactly what's happening. She's upset. She's like,
Mhm.
"Where's Hera? Why isn't Hera here? She should be here. She's the queen of us all."
Oh, what a coward. I'm like,
Yeah,
no,
and it's
no.
like you could tell she has her reasons, but like yeah, it's all about rage. And a line that caught my attention early on as I was reading was the subjugation and abuse of not men by men. It's a very deliberate line meant to call out the fact that not only do men oppress women, but they also oppress anyone that doesn't fit the traditional view of what a man is. Whether that be someone who does identify as a cis man but doesn't adhere to tradition, or a trans person or non-binary person. It's just they oppress those that are not men, and that was that was a line that I did not remember the first time I read it. Granted, this was years ago. This was like 2 years ago. Like I didn't remember Hecate being in this at all. And at the time when I first read this, I barely knew a lot about Hecate. Now I know a lot more because of Hades, and as a result of Hades, I did my own research because I was just interested. And yeah, I know a lot more about Greek mythology, and reading this and kind of like seeing the way they pull from it is very interesting because there's a lot of like digging deep into like what these characters represent and how that is poured into the creation of these Amazons. Which this is a slight retcon of. I don't even know if this is 100% canon to the main universe. I think this might be its own thing, but it's a type of book to where you could. It doesn't like go against anything that came before, and instead kind of adds more context. So you could very easily read this and then read other Wonder Woman comics and assume that this is the origin of the Amazons in those comics as well. Even though they may look different, you can still make that assumption. But I want to hear more about like the very specific aspect of the stories that stuck out to you guys.
I
Like
think,
the fact.
oh,
Oh, go
go on.
ahead. Oh, yeah, I do like the fact that they also made Aphrodite a crash out.
Mm,
Because that's another like aspect of Aphrodite that a lot of people don't know about. Is that like not only is she a goddess of love, but she is also a goddess of war in her own right, outside of like her whole thing, like situationship with Ares. Like a lot of goddesses of love back then were twofold goddesses of war because like passion and like people love is something people go to war for, and I'm glad that they're like playing with that aspect of her character a lot more. Like you don't see that in media, and also the fact that she's black is amazing, or at least
yeah,
black coded. I'm in love with
very
that.
much. They made her a like plus size black woman, which is a very
Mhm.
fun design for the
Awesome.
character. And
Very much so.
yeah, just all of these designs. Like we talk about Hecate, but we didn't talk about how she looks, and she's just spiky,
Mhm.
just jagged and harsh. You mentioned Athena, and to like describe it a bit, she's like very armor clad, um, and wielding these two silver swords, and has a um. I don't believe she has. I think she does. She have a gold mask.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they're all gorgeous. I feel like the most human looking ones are Hera and Artemis. Hestia is just looks like a woman on fire.
Yeah.
But Artemis is the youngest and is she looks like a wild child. She's covered in bones and feathers and furs. And Hera is just meant to look like a queen. She's the queen of the gods. Second in command only to Zeus. And she looks the part, covered in peacock feathers all the time. But also throughout the entirety of this book, Hera specifically constantly changes her like clothes. All the other goddesses look the exact same the entire time, except for that one moment when they were creating the Amazons. But she is always changing. Every scene with her, she looks different, and she looks great every time. That one 2-page spread when she's laying down is so good. Also, this book is mostly 2-page spreads, which I normally hate in both physical and digital forms because they're hard to read. But the art is so good that I can forgive them this one time. Just this
So,
time.
usually I hate 2-page spreads also because I'm blind and I can't read small text. But because the art is such a treat to look at, zooming in to read the text, I was excited to do it. Like when another 2-page spread would come up, I'm like, yes, I get to look at it in more detail. Like it's amazing.
But yeah, let's talk about the argument that is had between the goddesses and the gods, as they are very dismissive of the very real grievances that they have, where Hera says, I tire of men. And then who is it? Poseidon. I was like, oh, well, I'll cause a plague. I'll just wipe the slate clean. We'll start over. And she's like, no. Not mankind. Men. I'm tired of men. And then his face is like, the fuck you mean, men?
What do you mean?
Right.
And then she lists their atrocities.
I really wanted to talk about that too.
Yeah, she lists their atrocities, and Zeus is very dismissive. He's like, it's in their nature. And she's like, it's in their nature. What do you mean it's in their nature to be cruel? And they're supposed to just take this? And yeah, what did you want to say about it, Brie? Or sorry, Jacqueline.
It's fine. Either name is fine. Whatever's more comfortable for you. But that part I really wanted to talk about because like it really bent me out of shape when she was like, why is it that these men cause so much injustice and like we're always on the receiving end and we just have to take it? And he was just like, well, existing has like its consequences or whatever. And I'm like, that's not true. She was like, yeah, it does, but like why is it always that women have to like hold their tongue or like be the recipient of like abuse and whatnot or be held back? And he's just like, well, man is unjust anyway, and like women like are alive to like not serve but like be a part of like that catalyst. And she's like, that doesn't make any sense. And that's when they all just immediately like just crashed. I was just like, oh, how about we start fighting like right now? And I was like, oh, it's about to be a bloodbath. I didn't know what to expect.
Yeah. And yeah, they're very dismissive because like they benefit from it. Zeus is the king. He benefits from patriarchal society, and in Greek myth he's always running around sleeping with different women. He benefits from it, so he knows that if things change, the reality is if things changed, men would still benefit from things changing, but they wouldn't be the ones in power. It would be shared, and he doesn't want that. If he changes things for mankind, he would also have to change things for Godkind, and he'd have to stand shoulder to shoulder with Hera, and he doesn't want that. He wants to be the one above all. What are your thoughts, Sire?
There was a really interesting point brought up, and I don't remember the exact wording of it, but it's like regarding the like man is unjust by nature, and Hera said something about like, but you're the god of justice, and you let this stand regardless. And like I thought that was a really interesting like angle to play it from, where it's like you see this injustice, you acknowledge this injustice, and you know that it happens, but you say that it's a part of nature despite being the one who determines what that nature of justice looks like. And it's like it really like pokes, I think, the biggest hole in that thing of like where like men will go like, not all men, and it's like, yeah, not all men, but a lot of men stand by and let the men who do do the things that they do, because like, what am I trying to say? It's like it kind of reflects that like not all men in air quotes like mentality, you know?
Yeah,
Mhm.
for sure. And yeah, that whole argument, like you have like some of the other gods chiming in every now and again, because I feel like the only one you'll notice, there's one god who doesn't chime in. Do you guys notice which one?
I don't know their name, but there was one who was just like sitting there in the background, listening to all of it. Like, you don't have any thoughts or anything?
It was Hermes. Hermes was the only one that never said a thing. He was just there. The only thing he said was Zeus was very flippant about what he was the god of. He's listing off what everyone's the god of, leading up to him saying he's the god of justice. And then he gets to Hermes and goes, he's the god of, and he's like stumbling, and he's like of merchants and thieves and commerce. And he's like, yes, that. He's very dismissive of Hermes.
Mhm.
And Hermes is very quiet during this whole thing. And I don't want to give away too much, but like, think about that.
Oh,
Like
more
it's gonna come back
lore.
later.
And yeah, but I also want to talk about the designs of the gods and how cool they are. Zeus,
Mhm.
piece of shit, but he looks cool as hell.
Definitely.
This just
He's literally the biggest one.
yeah, this giant
Right.
blue man with these goat horns holding a lightning rod in his hand. And then Ares is just covered in blood. Half naked. They made Hephaestus this like short dude, short stocky dude. Who's also just naked for some reason. Poseidon, I think, is my favorite, where he's like a
Mhm.
centaur with like a like fish's tail, and that's really cool because he's also the god of horses.
Mhm.
What's his name? Not Helios, the other god of the sun.
Apollo?
Yes, Apollo. Yes, he's there. His outfit's interesting, where he has this like
Very much so.
golden shirt and boots, but then he's wearing like a thong or a jockstrap, and it's very random, but it is a cool design. And
Yeah.
then Hermes, like you said, always in the background, so you don't really get the best look at him, but you know he kind of looks very like what Hermes always looks like. Big wing ears on his head, and the like medicine staff. But then he's like
Mhm.
draped in these robes that I assume will look really cool when we see him running at some point. And yeah, just from a design standpoint, all of these cars just look awesome. Also very
Very much.
interesting and unique and different from any version of them I've ever seen. I don't know about you
Mhm.
guys.
I do like that they're not afraid to make the gods like not look human. I feel like a lot of like depictions of Greek gods especially like you know, they're afraid to like kind of step outside of the box, but like the whole thing with the Greek gods was that like they could appear in any form, whatever they wanted to be they could, and I don't think that that's played with enough, so it's refreshing to see that they're not just dudes in togas, even if they
Mhm.
are pieces of shit.
Yeah. But kind of like I want to circle back to the creation of the Amazons themselves, but for the sake of time, I want to kind of jump to Hippolyta. Do you guys know who Hippolyta is? Like what she is to the Wonder Woman mythos? And if you know, don't say it, just in case the other person doesn't. But if you don't know, let me know.
I
You don't?
don't. I know what Hippolyta is in context of Greek myth, but not for Wonder Woman.
Okay. What about you,
I've heard her
Jordan?
name mentioned before,
Interesting. I'm not gonna.
and like
I'm not
she
gonna.
had some kind of like level of like importance,
Yeah,
but I'm not too sure.
that's awesome that you guys just don't know. I'm not gonna say anything because I thought you.
Oh my gosh.
I thought you guys would know, but honestly, the fact that you guys don't know kind of sucks. But it goes to show part of the
Oh,
problem, and not because of you guys, but because of
Yeah.
society and DC
yeah.
and WB and how they suck and don't do a good job of advertising this character and you know getting people to learn about her.
They can make a cartoon off of this book, honestly. Like I
Suppose
would
I'm
so down to
saying.
see it.
supposedly the first Wonder Woman project will be an adaptation of this book. So
Awesome.
if that's true, and if they do it justice, this will be the perfect ground level to start off with Wonder Woman.
hmm
But yeah, let's get into Hippolyta and her story, which is insane. And kind of it feels random at first because you go from all of this creation of the Amazons and all this godly stuff, and then you go down to Earth, to Greece, to
Yeah, it
this
was such a drastic change.
woman who is called an assistant but is assumed to be a slave, um, who is told to kill a child because it's a girl, and they get into kind of the like history of that being done, of like why babies would be just sent down a river to either die or not, mostly die, obviously. And one of them was just being born a girl. Sometimes if it's not a boy, they just go, I don't want a girl, go throw her in a river, which is insane.
Yeah.
Especially since, of course, nowadays we know it is the man that determines the sex of the child. So if you're constantly having girls, that's on you, brother. And you just got to accept that that's what it is. And know that you're not having a son unless you're going to let somebody else, inseminate your wife, and you guys are okay with that. Otherwise you're stuck with daughters, dude. This is on you. Unless you can somehow change your biology, it's up. You're not having a son. But yeah, this just sends her into a spiral. And she just runs off and just keeps running for days without food somehow. For how long they say days, but it's hard to tell if it's days. But there's one like 2-page spread that depicts it, where she eventually ends up in a snowy place, and you're like, how long has she been running, and where did she go? How is this possible? But then men do what men do and try to mess with her before the Amazons come and do what the Amazons were made to do, which is stop that from happening. And I guess from there, I'd like to get into like your guys' thought on the creation of the Amazons and kind of like how they're depicted here based on your limited experience with them in the context of DC myth specifically, because I'm sure you guys are aware of their existence outside of it. Because you mentioned like how you know about Hippolyta in Greek myth and legend. Hippolyta is maybe I shouldn't say this because maybe you don't know, Jackal, and that would be a spoiler. So, like in Greek legend, she has an importance among the Amazons. And no, I'll take it back. Actually, in the book, they say future queen. So that's not a spoiler because when Philippus meets her, she says future queen. So never mind, not a spoiler. In Greek myth, Hippolyta is the queen.
Literally,
of the Amazons.
the end chapter has her on like the horse and like armor and everything. So I'm like, something's going on here.
Yeah. So like, future queen of the Amazons. So like, what are your thoughts? Mm-hmm. Sorry, I've been talking a lot. I'm excited.
No, it's okay. But that whole scene, oh my gosh, I kept rereading it. It was so good when she was like, oh yes, the gods will take care of this. Like they'll determine whether or not this child will live or like pass. Like, yeah, it's surely in their hands. And then like the immediate change of heart, and then like her just running to like find this baby. Like she isn't even by the water anymore. She's just still running and running and running. I'm like, girl, this baby is probably dead. Like, you've been running for days and you haven't found this baby, and you come across these men. I'm like, oh, they might help her or something. No, and they're like, oh, let's cut out her tongue. Like, what? This like, are you a runaway slave? You can't talk. You look weak. Let's mess with her. Like, are you kidding me? And all that dedication. Like, she was already half dead, as they stated, just for the baby to actually pass away. I thought it was gonna be like some kind of other thing where she finds the baby and then like, that's Wonder Woman, but no.
So, did you notice what Hera did at the end?
I did. She's like, oh yeah, I need another pair of eyes. She's like, you already have like thousands of eyes. She's like, now I have 1,002 eyes.
Yeah, she said, I'll take this soul later for safekeeping. So, we'll see where that goes. But yeah, I couldn't remember if she saved the baby or not. So, I was reading it like, and at a certain point, I was like, oh, no, she didn't. The baby's dead. I was like, I couldn't remember if she did or not. And like, no, she did not. The baby died. Yeah, surprisingly, like this is a book where I read it all. I read it last night because I got that dog in me. Okay? I just be reading comics. Because at first I was worried, like, this comic's 50 pages. Am I going to be able to sit down and read this in one sitting? Because I might get sleepy. But the day before, I read 3 separate comics that were like 24 pages each. So I was like, no, I'll be fine. I'll be able to read it. Mind you, they weren't even 20 something pages each. They were longer than that because they were old comics. And old comics be having long chapters for no reason. So I was like, I got it. I'll sit down. I'll be able to read this. And I had a great time. And I went to sleep happy thinking about Wonder Woman.
Yeah, like I came really close to reading the entire thing in one sitting, but it was like 2 a.m. And I was like, no, I can't. I gotta wait. So we can talk about it and then see thoughts. But
yeah, this conversation would
might
be the whole podcast if we read the whole thing at once.
Yeah, definitely. So I was like, let me pace myself, even though I'm enjoying it a lot.
Yeah, it's also not that hard to read. Like when you said 50 pages, I thought it was gonna be like heavy with dialogue.
Yeah.
It was not heavy
It's
with
very
dialogue,
much
so it's very easy to read. The only thing that slows you down is the art because you gotta take it in.
Yeah, you
For
just got to.
sure.
You just turn to a page and go, oh my God, I can't flip now. I don't even want to read anymore. I just want to stare at this.
Right.
But did you guys read the very end page that goes into detail about the different Amazons that were created and the tribes and like their
I
designs? I read it as well. Did you, Jackal?
did.
I did not.
I don't blame you. Because I was halfway through reading it
a lot.
and I was like, this is a lot, but I'm gonna finish it because I want to talk
It is a
about it.
lot.
But yeah, they go through all of them. Now, me, a person. Wait, I just recognized because I was just about to say how going through it, I recognize some of their names as characters that appear in Wonder Woman stories, and then I go through and recognize that one of them is named Nubia, and I did not pick up on that before. That's cool. Nubia, for those who don't know, which Bree, I'm sure you don't know. I you know because I talk about Nubia 1,000 times. But Nubia was DC's first black superhero woman. She was created in the 70s, like most black superheroes. And maybe I'll make us read some Nubia comics at some point because a couple years ago she had a real big push. And she was added as a playable character in multiverses above a lot of DC characters, above like the Flash. She was added, which was wild to me. Unfortunately, that game is kaput, but it was crazy that she was in that game. And her original origin was that she was twin sister to Diana, to Wonder Woman. And the reason she's black is because she was sculpted out of dark clay, which was wild.
That is wild.
Not evil clay, but like literally dark colored clay, and that's why she's black. But they eventually retconned it. But I'm actually not mad at the idea of her still being her twin and just removing that dark clay line, and just it being that she's a long lost twin. Which is really fun. But here they're making her one of the first Amazons, and specifically, she's born of Demeter, which was the first tribe was born from Demeter, and that's interesting. I didn't realize that before, but that's cool. It'd be interesting. I'm curious if they'll do anything with that in live action because one of my hopes is that Nubia is present from the beginning when Diana first shows up on screen, because as DC's first black woman hero who doesn't get a lot of attention until recently, she's gotten a lot more. It'd be cool if she's there from the beginning alongside DC's first woman hero period. That'd be cool. But yeah, the Amazons themselves are cool. We haven't got too deep into them yet. We'll get more into them later. But just from a visual standpoint, awesome. Some of them different than you expect because the tribe of Aphrodite are like all clad in like white and like shining and shimmering, which I feel like you would expect them to be more like how she looks, where they have this she almost looks like she has like paint dripping on her body. But instead they're all shining and white, and that's interesting in comparison to the rest, which I feel like the rest kind of match their gods a bit more. So it's interesting they went in that direction with their designs.
Right.
Like Hecate's, all of them have spikes all over their bodies. And yeah, it's very interesting. I'm trying to think of what else to say. What are your thoughts on the Amazons, especially in their creation? Because I'm kind of at a loss of words of what to say.
They're separated into tribes. Like I love that each of them have a different like goddess that's kind of like their origin, and I really do hope that the aspects of each goddess like kind of influences how each tribe carries themselves. So like beyond looks, but like in their philosophy, in their like their idea of justice and how they carry it out. I really, really hope that that's the direction it's going, because that's what it felt like, but I don't know for sure because I haven't read the rest. But fingers crossed that that happens, and it becomes like maybe even like a contest point between some of them, where it's like they don't agree on certain things, like morally or when it comes to justice. Like I think that would be a really interesting like angle to play it from.
Also, I believe
I also agree with that.
I was mistaken. It wasn't Philippus who saved Hippolyta. It was Antiope and the tribe of Artemis. But yeah, were you gonna say?
Oh, I was just gonna say I also agree. Like maybe like right now they're on like civil ground because they want this space for themselves and like for like generations to come. But like what their standpoints on like justice does seem like very different. Like Hecate is very like if something doesn't go her way, she's ready to like just duke it out right then and there. Which I
Mm-hmm.
personally like a lot. Like not everything has to be peace, personally.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's
But
one.
there's only so much I can say since it's just like the first
Yeah, and
chapter.
that's like an aspect of the Amazons that people kind of latch onto is that they will fight if they have to. They prefer like to talk things out if possible, but they will fight. They can fight. They're fighters. But I think that's a good place to stop. This is awesome. I like you guys to understand how happy I am to have you guys. Now, my next step now is to force somebody to play Metal Gear, but
Oh, maybe it should be
That's
me.
better at it.
it might be you. I might force you to play Metal Gear just so we can talk about it. But yeah, this is awesome. I'm so glad that you guys are joining me for this journey. I'm excited to reread this, and the next comic we read is going to be another reread for me. But I'm eventually going to try and find some comics that maybe I haven't read before either. So it's kind of fresh for all of us.
Mhm.
But yeah, I'm excited to start this journey because like this is what's been missing from the comic section is just talking about having a conversation about people who are also reading the things that I'm reading. Like me and I read some of the same manga, like Chainsaw Man, but you've kind of not been feeling the most recent arc, so you've fallen behind, and you're reading Dan, and I'm watching it, so we have that discussion, but we can tend to talk about that in animation. But like for the most part, when it comes to comics specifically, we're not reading the same things. We're reading different comics and different novels and books and such. So having a book that we can all talk about it together is pretty cool. Um, a comic that you'll be crazy to hear, you'll be real surprised to hear that I haven't read that maybe we do on this podcast. I've not read Watchmen. I've only seen a movie.
Really?
Not read
I'm
it.
thinking about reading it after watching the movie.
So that might have to be one that we do. Maybe that'll be the third one because I have the second one lined up.
Okay.
That might be the third one. Watchmen. That might be the third one because I need to read Watchmen.
It's
I
so
also
interesting.
I also would like to put Sin City on the docket at some point because I love the movie, have not read the comics yet, and have always wanted to, but never had an excuse. So,
moving on to TV and film, we have our second episode with Christian being a regular part of the podcast in this section. So, what like movies and TV shows you've been watching lately? You don't have to get like super into detail into any of them, I guess, because we're gonna definitely have a long conversation about some of them after we talk about some recent trailers. So I want to save some of those longer discussions for the end.
Right. Recently, compared to last time, I saw two films. So I saw Superman, which I definitely want to talk about, and I saw F1, and thought that they were two very well made films, and they occupy very different lanes. For me, F1 definitely fulfilled just solid sports film. Also, just for me, like a very canon event movie that is very important for me is Tron Legacy. So I've always been a fan of Joseph Kosinski. And I always thought that he had like a very distinct and cool visual style, whether with Tron Legacy, Oblivion. He just always had a cool visual style, and it was cool seeing him approach the sports film.
I heard that he was actually supposed to direct Ford vs Ferrari. But
Really?
yeah.
That I didn't know. And it's very interesting. Um, because I feel like he would do that very well. I feel like he he kind of reminds me of like a kind of like a John Ford or like I don't want to say a Spielberg, but kind of like that traditional like American like blockbuster filmmaker. He just kind of yeah, it's I feel like there's comparisons. Like you can make comparisons, but he definitely just occupies that space of doing like American films, but with like a sense of polish and a sense of style that's very distinct. And I feel like he has cornered like a very interesting market. Um, yeah, I feel like he would have done Ford v Ferrari very interestingly because yeah, he just really he's nailed that very like it's a quality that's hard to put a finger on. But yeah, it's just kind of classic Hollywood, just well made, well shot filmmaking type stuff. And apparently he's doing a Miami Vice film with a screenplay written by Tony Gilroy, which
Oh
is
wow.
I'm very interested. Yeah, yeah, like I'm very interested in that movie with Kaczynski having like a very smooth, very grand directorial style, and with Tony Gilroy being Tony Gilroy, I'm very interested in what that script could be. So or what that film could be, period. So yeah, definitely looking forward to that. But yeah, overall, thought F1 was cool. And even though the script was like very if it ain't broke, don't fix it. It was very well directed. I thought the performances were cool and it was well shot. And Hans Zimmer definitely watched Challengers. Um, is very electronic, very dance based soundtrack. But I thought it was cool. I thought it was very, very cool. Um, as far as television goes, I, I don't know how I failed to mention it a couple weeks ago when we talked, but I watched The Rehearsal season 2, and that show, just like the first season of the show, I don't think there's any show like it. I feel like Nathan Fielder is just very good at just absurdity emboldened in reality. Like it's this interesting juxtaposition of like, is this real? What isn't real? But that juxtaposition is what makes it cool. Um, yeah, it's just very very cool. Um, so yeah, just watched the rehearsal season 2. Um, haven't watched anything like it. It's funny. It's very don't want to say disorienting, but it's just the entire time you're just like, huh, what, huh? And when you think it can't beat, and when you think it can't beat anything, it gets even crazier. Like Nathan Fielder is very great at that.
Yeah. I've always heard of the
Yeah,
rehearsal. Never watched it myself. I hear it can be very like
it
uncomfortable to watch
yes, absolutely.
because it's just like
But
real
it's like it's
life
that
cringy scenarios.
yes, um, and yeah, it's like real life cringy scenarios, and but there's also this I don't know, it's like it's chaotic and there is some cringe factor there. And along with that, there's some sort of it's a deep layer of creativity and something very pure about it. Like it's comedic and with it being edited, even though it's not scripts written, it's scenario based. So it's like it feels real in cinema verite, but it also feels controlled to an extent. So it's like an interesting mix of like it feels on the fly, but it also feels curated. So it yeah, it feels cinematic, but it also feels like you're watching something you're not supposed to watch. it's a part. It's a very interesting line that he that he walks on. So I really enjoyed the rehearsal season 2. Um, just this is just a quick plug, but it's a great filmmaker. His name is Cameron A. Granger, and he made a film called Before I Let Go. And the premise is that it's a mockumentary slash documentary, and the premise is that giants came in and destroyed like a neighborhood in Ohio, like a predominantly black neighborhood, but also in real life that neighborhood was destroyed and then was ultimately gentrified. So it's like they used giants to talk about something that actually happened. And the interviews and the talking heads are some are fake and some are real. And it's like a line gets blurred. So it's like I feel like stuff like that has been very interesting to me. Things where reality, what's fiction and what's fact gets blurred to the point that you can't tell the difference anymore. Um, but yeah, overall, that's been what I've been watching, and that's the type of wave I've been on. But yeah, just it's been a lot of cool stuff recently coming out. What about you?
For me, I recently I rewatched Sinners for the fourth time. This time at home on HBO Max with subtitles. Sometimes you forget when you're watching movies in theaters that you're not watching it with subtitles. I tend to watch things with subtitles. So watching it with
Same.
subtitles this time, I'm noticing words that I didn't notice before, like things that I misheard while watching it in theaters the 3 times I saw it, and I'm realizing, oh, I didn't realize that's what they said, which is a very interesting way to watch it. And to come from my own home, I was watching it alongside Blind Wave, a reaction YouTube channel that I subscribe to on YouTube, and I also subscribe to their Patreon. And at the tier I'm at, you can like watch an entire thing with them full length reaction. So I like queued that up and watched alongside them, which is a very fun thing to do, and I do it pretty frequently. I watch some shows that either I've seen before and I just like watching them watch it, or there's been a few shows that I'll sometimes use them as a way to see if I like a show. I like watch the first episode alongside them, and then if I like it, I'll watch it by myself. But I also saw Superman a second time. But we're going to talk about that towards the very end. For now, let's talk about some recent trailers and news in TV and film. So it's funny that you mentioned both Tron Legacy and Challengers, because we got a second trailer for Tron Ares, and it looks
Yes.
good from a visual standpoint, and the music by Nine Inch Nails is sounding real good so far. Which of course
Yeah.
they did the soundtrack for Challengers.
Mhm.
But yeah, based on this second trailer, which I assume you watched it,
I
it,
did.
it seems like they're bringing, like in that first initial trailer when we talked about it very briefly, like over a month ago at this point. I wasn't sure how to feel about them bringing like the Tron world into the real world. Like the thing I always liked about Tron is kind of like that isolation of just like one person going into the digital world and having to experience, or I like things like Tron Uprising where you're just experiencing the experience of the people within that digital world. Um, but with
Right.
Tron Ares, they're it seems like the military is bringing the Tron world to the real world for military use. And I never really thought about how topical a Tron movie is with its, heavy focus
Right.
on AI and digital worlds, a la the metaverse and things like that. I never really thought about it in that
Yes.
context, but that makes a lot of sense, and they reference both in the trailer. But what were your
Mhm.
thoughts?
Yeah. Definitely what you're saying in regards to the aspect of relevancy with Tron, with just topics like you're saying with the metaverse and with like artificial intelligence. Um, when I've heard about the premise of like this character Ares or just elements of Tron being in the real world in general, I was like, are they gonna Smurf Tron? Like, is it gonna be that Smurfs film with Neil Patrick Harris? Um, and I kind of became nervous, and then I looked into who the filmmaker was, and noticed that it wasn't Joseph Kosinski.
Yeah, it's Joaquin Roning, who worked on
Yeah,
Pirates of the Caribbean, Dipman, Tell No Tales, and the Maleficent movie with Angelina Jolie.
right. Which is like an interesting filmography. Um,
2 Disney movies, and
so
now he's working on a
I,
third Disney movie.
right, yeah. So, and I can't speak fully because I haven't seen Dead Men Tell No Tales and I haven't seen Maleficent. But I don't want to say I was worried, but I was interested because again, Tron Legacy is one of my favorite films ever. Um, but yeah, I'm interested in how they're gonna pull off the real world aspect and whether it will be we live in a society or like how are they going to interrogate just like just the military aspect or like how we use like technology to engage in violence or engage in war. Like it seems like they're going to try to get into that stuff. Um,
I feel like it also
yeah.
opens the door
Overall,
up for like some potentially interesting sequels. I know it's a bit early to say that when a movie's not even coming out. It comes out October 24th, a couple months from now. But like if the world now becomes
right.
aware of the existence of this digital world, do we then get like either like maybe some like shows or another movie where it does become like the metaverse and people are having this like mass exodus where they can enter the Tron world and we're getting a bunch of people from the real world entering that world? That could be interesting.
Good. And it's definitely a different direction for Tron because, you know, everything you said, Tron is so based around the immersion of being in another universe. Like Tron, if Disney
It's
ever
very much
really
an isekai.
expanded on it, like, no, for sure. Like, it's definitely an isekai, but without Truck-kun. It is an isekai, for sure. Um, like, no one gets run over by a truck, but it is an isekai for sure. Um, and so much of it is just based around world building and just like a lot of just different factions, different groups, a lot of lore. And because the Disney, Star Wars, and Marvel deal happened, Tron was in development hell forever. And they just, I feel like the potentiality for world building there wasn't really done. So with them going into the outside world, I'm like, are we going to lose some of that lore and world building and kind of the escapism that made Tron cool by bringing it into a real world environment? And that kind of had me worried. But looking into who the cinematographer is, um, blanking on his name right now, but he did the cinematography for Tron Legacy, and he also did cinematography for a fair amount of David Fincher's work too. And like, feel like he's definitely a key part in Tron Legacy looking as good as it did. He's going to be doing the cinematography for Tron Ares, so that has me a bit excited. Um, so based off of the trailer, I know visually it's going to look cool. I know visually it's going to be an interesting film, and I know the music is going to be cool. And yeah, like those aspects have me interested in the film. I
Jeff
think that the casting is interesting. Sorry, go ahead.
Cronenweth is the cinematographer.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm curious how they'll handle like the last movie. Are they just gonna ignore it, or like is Flynn gonna be involved somehow? I know they're gonna have his dad in the movie. You know, they're bringing back Jeff Bridges, but are they bringing back Tron too? Like who, like, are they gonna touch on any of the past movies like Legacy did? Like, you know, Legacy, it's in the title. There's a level of legacy there, and like paying respect to what came before, and like being a true sequel. Will this be an actual sequel that you know calls back to the first 2 movies, or will it try to be its own thing and like be very isolated? I kind of hope not, or even if it is, that doesn't leave the door closed for the future for them to bring back the cast from the first movie or the second movie.
Yeah. Right. Because like, is Sam and Cora gonna pop up?
Mhm.
Like, is this really going to? How many years is this after Tron Legacy? Is it real
Yeah,
time? Like,
exactly.
has it been 20, 10 years or 15 years? Has it been 20 or 30 years? Like, in regards to the time frame of this film and how it relates to the ultimate, like, lore of everything, it's not very clear. I feel like that'll definitely, maybe it'll be given with time, but
Yeah, I mean,
um,
something that I really hope
yeah,
happens if this does well is we get a third season for Tron Uprising. Tron Uprising was such a good show. I will never stop singing the praises
yeah,
of Tron Uprising from the roofs. It was so good. And if that happens,
yeah,
and if they're able to bring back two now iconic um, animators and animation directors, uh, Robert
hmm,
Valley and Alberto Mielgo, who have gone on to do great things. Alberto Mielgo was I think, the art director on the first Spider-Verse film. He does a lot of incredible short films. He did 2 episodes for Love, Death, and
right,
Robots. One for the first season, which is still
hmm,
to this day, I think, the best episode of the entire show, called The Witness. And I think he did one for the third season called The Jabaro. And Robert Valley did 3 episodes for the show. I watched his most recent one in the fourth season called 400 Boys. And he did one called Zima Blue in the first season, and he did
hmm,
another one in like the second or third season. Like, they're both incredible, and if one or both, most likely Robert Valley, because the art style of the show itself is based off of his art style that he continues to use in all of
right,
his other like work that he directs. Like, that would be incredible. Like, just a return of that show would be great, and the cast of that show is great. Like, they have the dude who plays Tron in the movies playing Tron
yeah,
in the show, and then they got Elijah Wood playing the main character. um,
right,
it's and a lot of, other than Jeff Bridges, a lot of the like actors from the movies actually return. Like Olivia Wilde plays her character in the show. um,
hmm,
yeah, it was a real good show. Unfortunately, one of the like where the show left off, it left off with like one of the a character played by Lance Reddick, who unfortunately passed away recently, having this big moment. So if it
right.
comes back, they'd have to recast him. But otherwise, there's an incredible cast of people they can bring back. But yeah, David Arquette voiced the character. Reginald
Very,
Val
it's a very just
Reginald Val Johnson voiced one of the main
original
characters.
Val Johnson.
Like it's it's a very star-studded cast. Lance Henriksen was the main villain. Yeah,
And I didn't know this. Aaron Paul was in the cast.
was he? Who did he play?
Yes, he voiced Cyrus.
Oh wow, I didn't know Aaron Paul was in there.
Yeah, a character named Cyrus. It's a very crazy cast
Yeah.
for this show.
But and before we move on, I did want to mention like the only thing holding this movie back, other than what we've already said, that we're like kind of concerned about, is the fact that Jared Leto is the lead. Because I've only
Yeah,
heard bad things about that guy, and like it just, I think also it's it's hard to say fortunately or unfortunately, he's supposedly part of the reason why this is even a thing. Like, he pushed really hard for it, and I'm like, cool, thanks, but you didn't need to star in it. You could have just been a producer.
yeah,
You could have
I
got
agree.
somebody else could have started,
Yeah,
and that kind of like makes me a bit
yeah, I don't.
apprehensive as well. Like, I'm ultimately still going to watch it, but I really wish he wasn't in it.
Same. Finding out that he was the protagonist, I kind of felt weary because just so many stories about him being a weirdo on
Hmm.
sets and just being overall very just discomforting. I was just like, I don't know how I feel about that.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, so I feel like the combination of Jared Leto, the real world setting, I'm I'm interested for how this film would be. I'm going to see it because it's Tron,
Mhm.
and the fact that this film is even happening is a miracle.
But moving on to
Yeah,
the trailer for Mortal Kombat 2, we got the very first full trailer. Um, and did you ever watch the first one that came out like 2022? It was
I
like,
didn't watch the first
yeah, it
one.
was that period of time where movies were being released both in theaters and on digital platforms. So this was on HBO Max and it released in theaters. I watched it on HBO, and it was alright. It was kind of whatever. It wasn't
Okay.
very good. It wasn't very bad. It was kind of just weird, and they made some very baffling decisions. But based on this trailer alone so far, this movie feels like what the first movie should have been. Because we're getting the actual Mortal Kombat tournament, and it's focusing on the incredible cast of existing and iconic characters instead of a boring original one. Because it's very clear that there was a studio mandate for them to make an original audience surrogate character for the first movie named Cole Young, who was so boring and so uninteresting and very easily could have just been Johnny Cage. Um, and
Yeah.
it's proof that the higher ups over there didn't know what they were doing, but what they were talking about when it came to Mortal Kombat. Because Mortal Kombat, it's a fighting game franchise, so it's known for having very iconic characters. And there's at least four characters they could have chosen to be the audience surrogate characters. It could have been Liu Kang, Johnny Cage, Sonya Blade, or Jax, or all four, really. But
Right.
instead, they decided to make a new character who was very, very boring. Um, Also, they did this really weird thing where they tied every character's abilities to this weird arcana system that people who are chosen for the tournament get. If you're marked with the dragon tattoo, that's the Mortal Kombat logo, to participate in the tournament, and if you have that tattoo, you also get powers, and that's how they explain Jax getting robot arms, which is like what? It's how they explain him getting robot arms, Sonya
That's
Blade
how.
being able to shoot purple energy, Liu Kang's fire, Kung Lao's hat, and it's like, no, that's stupid.
Do we need that?
No, because Jax, his it's such a simple explanation, and we see it in the movie. He loses his arms. Sub Zero freezes his arms, breaks
Right.
them. He has no arms anymore. In the games, the military just gives him robot arms. Simple explanation. No man. Why does he need? Why do
Right.
you need a magical explanation for how he gets robot arms? The military just gives him robot arms because he lost his arms. That simple. Also, Sonya
Right.
Blade, originally in the games, it was like never fully explained why she shoots purple energy, but later on in the games, they gave her these gauntlets. And like the more military focused characters of Sonya and Jax, they get their abilities from technology in combination with their, fighting capabilities. Liu Kang, there's an explanation why he has fire powers. You do that. You don't do this stupid arcana thing. Same thing with Kano's laser eye. They made that magic when in the game he just lost an eye and had it replaced with a mechanical eye that can shoot lasers. It's like, what are you doing? Also, Kung Lao's hat. It's just skill. It's not a superpower. He's just really skilled at throwing his sharp hat.
He's just good.
It's
Yeah.
They made a bunch of really
It's
weird
just
decisions.
yeah. It's like I was watching a video from Godzilla Mendoza, and he was talking about the Fantastic Four, like Tim Story films, and like you mentioned, and it's a thing that a lot of people have had a complaint about, but how in Rise of the Silver Surfer they made Galactus a planet. Um, it's
The
like they
problem.
make
Oh,
Galactus
okay.
like a angry cosmic cloud because audiences wouldn't understand a giant that wants to eat planets in a world where a rock man and a man that catches on fire and survive and a stretchy man and an invisible woman exist. It's like it's this weird thing where higher ups and a lot of people in the films, or not a lot of people in the film space, but mainly higher ups, don't trust audiences or think that if audiences see something like Kano shooting lasers out of his eyes, that they're going to be like, this is ridiculous, even though it's Mortal Kombat. Like, and like embrace the camp,
It's also
embrace the unrealistic
like one of the most
aspects.
popular video games on the face of planet Earth. People know these characters.
Right.
Like even people who don't play video games know these characters. That's how iconic they are.
Right.
The Arcana ability that the main character Cole Young got was literally plot armor. I am not joking. At the very last second, when Goro was about to rip his arms off, he was enveloped in this armor that gave him powers, and I was like, "There's no way somebody thought this was a good idea to give the main character
Literal
literal
plot
plot
armor.
armor." It's insane. Also,
A
the
main character that no one knows.
yeah. Also, the actor playing
Mm.
Raiden didn't really leave much of a mark in the first movie, but that was before I watched Shogun, which he's in, and now I'm excited to
Okay.
see his performance in this one because in the first movie I was happy that they made Raiden Japanese and they actually call him Raiden, which is the like correct Japanese pronunciation of that name versus the very like American people who made a video game and saw the name and decided to call him Raiden. um,
Right.
but I'm used to seeing Raiden have such a more demanding presence and voice, and the dude playing him now, uh, Tadanobu Asano, didn't really have that. But now after seeing Shogun and really liking his performance in that, I'm like, okay, you know what? I'm gonna give you another chance, and hopefully they give you more to do because they just didn't give Raiden a lot to do in that movie. So hopefully this time
Right.
they actually let that man act because he could act.
Right.
But yeah, this is coming out October as well on the 24th. But last in
Okay.
kind of just recent trailers and news, we have the announcement of the Legend of Zelda live action movie casting revealed by Shigeru Miyamoto on Nintendo's Twitter account. He said, "This is Miyamoto. I am pleased to announce that for the live action film of Legend of Zelda, Zelda will be played by Bo Bragginson and Link by Benjamin Eve Ainsworth. I'm very much looking forward to seeing both of them on the big screen. The film is scheduled to be released in theaters on May 7th, 2027. Thank you for your patience." Yeah, so I think that the
Yeah.
actors, at the very least, look the part. And I'm glad that they are relatively
Yeah.
unknown so that they can become the
Mm.
characters. Um, versus a
Right.
well-known actor's fame kind of overshadowing the characters they're playing, like the Tom Holland fan casting. A lot of people have for Link, even though it's mostly joking. But what are your
Exactly.
thoughts?
hmm Yeah, I think the process of doing unknowns, I think that is cool. I think that going with unknowns, it allows them to just the way that it's gonna be fresh seeing them on the screen. It's gonna be fresh seeing Link and Zelda be represented in live action. So I feel like that was a cool way of going for it instead of doing like Timothy Chalamet as Link. I feel like it's a very interesting route to go. Another fan casting I saw a lot for Zelda was Hunter Schafer.
Yeah.
Um, and it was just a lot of folks had like fan casting and like just casting ideas in general for the film. So I think it is interesting to go with unknowns.
Yeah. Also, if you don't know,
So yeah,
the movie is being directed by Wes Ball, who's most famous for the Maze Runner
oh,
movies, but he also did the most recent
okay,
Planet of the Apes movie, which I've heard is really good. But also, over a decade
yeah,
ago, he randomly said on Twitter that the next James Cameron Avatar style movie that perfectly blends live action and CGI animation should be The Legend of Zelda. And lo and behold, he's directing a live action Zelda movie that will hopefully do just that. We know
that's
that he
cool.
knows how to work with extremely detailed and sophisticated, CGI in interaction with live action because of Planet of the
Right.
Apes. And he's also very much obsessed with
hmm
animation and has like tried to get a bunch of different animated projects off the ground. So it seems like, despite the fact this movie will be live action, he very much has respect for animation and probably understands that people probably want this to be animated. Like myself, I would have much rather preferred this movie be fully animated, preferably in 2D and a style maybe
Right.
trying to mimic almost the Ghibli films, or if possible, well, they don't do this, but if Studio Ghibli would be willing to just straight up make a Zelda movie, that would be sick. But also, I would have accepted
Right.
3D as well. Like, I would have preferred this to be animated. But if he can actually do that perfect melding of live action and CGI, then, I'll be happy with that as long as it's a good story.
Right. Um, yeah, Wes Ball being the director is very interesting. Um, I'm vaguely familiar with the Planet of the Apes films, and Wes Ball took following Matt Reeves, and like he really did his own thing with the films. So I feel like coming from Planet of the Apes and coming from Maze Runner, which definitely is based around just like sci-fi concepts, like raw Earth concepts. I don't want to say prehistoric, but like versions of Earth that are kind of run down or somewhat natural. I feel like Maze Runner definitely has some like natural undertones. So I feel like him doing a Zelda film could be interesting. And I feel like at the least it will be well shot. So, and also a lot of like the Zelda stuff. Oh, no problem. Like a lot of the Zelda stuff is greatly based around like just kind of storybook stuff or like hero's journey stories. So I feel like Zelda lends itself well to narrative and especially film narrative. So I feel like with the right sauce, this could be great. I feel like this is possible to be something very good.
For sure.
So yeah, I'm interested. Also, I love how I like how straightforward it's just like this is Miyamoto. This is the cast for the film. I'm looking forward to this.
Yeah, he's
It's a
always
very
very
Nintendo
straightforward.
way of announcing it.
That's
Yeah,
definitely Nintendo for
which
you.
is cool.
Moving into Superman by James Gunn from 2025. So you've seen it, and I've seen it a second time. So
Yeah.
let's get into your spoiler-free thoughts to start of the movie overall.
Yeah, as far as spoiler free thoughts, I definitely agree with the concept that this is James Gunn's Superman. In regards to just like a lot of the concepts here, how sci-fi it is in regards to how it uses, I don't want to say DC B-list characters, but it uses DC characters that aren't as unknown. It's definitely, there's some counterculture aspects in there in regards to like, it's, I feel like James Gunn has always had like a love for like the outsiders, or like I don't want to say the weirdos, but like the characters that aren't,
I mean, he would say the weirdos.
don't have the, yeah, he would say the weirdos. He would say the weirdos for sure, but like characters that don't have the magnifying glass on them or the spotlight on them that often. And I feel like this portrayal of Superman definitely fits into that. Um, Especially like with the usage of like certain characters. Overall, definitely just a different type of superhero movie that really, 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 really trusts the audience, especially in regards to a lot of the concepts that are thrown at the screen, especially in regards to how unabashedly just like, I don't want to say silly, but it
Almost campy.
it yeah, campy almost. Like there is some sci-fi like B movie aspects or concepts here. And for me it works. Like I think it works very well. And it was very refreshing to watch a film that is just like unabashedly a comic book movie. And I don't know how to describe it. I've never seen a film that embraced Clark Kent's ability to go to and fro fast.
Yeah.
Like it's just things happen back to back to back to back. 1 second he's in Fortress of Solitude, 1 second he's in Metropolis, 1 second he's at his parents' house, 1 second he's back in Metropolis again, fighting a kaiju. It's just, it's very day in a life to an extent. Like it's a very fast movie.
Yeah.
And I
There's
could
been
understand some people being very, yeah.
it's just in
I
regards to
can understand some, yeah.
the day in a life aspect. Supposedly, not supposedly, there was supposed to be title cards of the days of the week in between, like
Yeah.
certain scenes, and that's recently been revealed, and that it was cut out because test audience didn't like it. So there's a lot of people on Twitter being like, "Oh, test audiences suck. They don't like fun." Because the best parts of
Right.
the very first DC movie that he made, The Suicide Squad, were the title cards. There were some absolutely like jaw-dropping title cards in that movie that were the names of the locations that they were going to that were incredible. I don't know if you ever seen the Suicide Squad, but you should definitely watch it. It's like awesome.
Okay.
And I can imagine them making that canon, especially since Peacemaker is now in this canon. Um, but like, yeah, it's
Right.
that movie's really good, and I wish he would have had those title cards in this, and like maybe they add them back for like the DVD version or something. But yeah,
Um,
you know, let's just get into spoilers. We had our spoiler-free discussion last week. You just gave your initial thoughts, but
yeah.
let's feel free to fully get into spoilers. So, spoiler alert: if you haven't seen Superman by now, we're gonna talk about everything, including, um, you know, potential for the future. So, yeah, what are your spoiler-filled thoughts?
Yeah. As far as like my overall reception, I left the theater thinking that I potentially almost loved it.
Mm,
It's been a minute since I watched a film that was just like it was just unabashedly a comic book movie, and it felt like I was watching a comic book to an extent. Not just stylistically, but in regards to how things just kind of pile on top of each other in different situations, layer. How there's just not a lot of explanation of things. Things just they just kind of happen. Like Lois is flying a spaceship now because she is. Like it's very comic booky, and I don't want to say it's unserious because there is dramatic weight here, but it's just very light to an extent. It's very airy. Um, there is some dramatic heft here, but I don't know. It's just it. I don't find myself asking a lot of questions from the film. Like it's just I can't describe the feeling that this film gave me. I really really enjoyed it.
yeah,
Um,
but I guess to kind of
yeah.
get into some spoiler-filled specifics, let's just start at the end with like one of the biggest spoilers. Supergirl, she showed up at the very end. Drunk, came crashing through the Fortress of Solitude to pick up Crypto, which is setting up her upcoming movie, which is currently filming. Simply titled Supergirl, but it is adapting storyline from the comic Supergirl Woman of Tomorrow, which previously was the title of the movie, but they decided to drop the Woman of Tomorrow portion. The comic was written by Tom King and drawn by Billy Keith Evely. Very incredible book. I remember reading it when it came out and going, "Oh, this would make a great movie." Lo and behold, it's the second movie they're making and releasing. So that's definitely exciting. We also got a poster for the movie. If you didn't see that, with a Supergirl standing in front of a
See
poster
that?
of Superman's emblem that says "Look out," which was the tagline for the Superman movie, or it says "Look up," which was the tagline for the Superman movie, and then it has "up" crossed out with "out" written in front of it, making it seem like "Look out" is going to be the tagline for the Supergirl movie, because as Superman and the like robots say at the end of the movie, she's been like going to planets with red suns, which red suns zap away their powers and make them just normal people. Um, and getting drunk and doing drugs and just partying. And she shows up drunk, gets her dog, and leaves to go do some more of that. So that sets up a potentially very interesting storyline. What did you think of that little kind of like cameo and setup for the future? And like, what are your thoughts on like where that may go?
Yeah, I thought it was a cool cameo. I think that it didn't feel overbearing, and I don't think it took away from the film. Supergirl popping up again, it implies that the universe is already established. One of the main comparisons, I forgot who said it, but apparently James Gunn said it himself that he was heavily inspired by A New Hope making this film, which makes sense because immediately we're just kind of thrown into the world here. So Supergirl's just kind of popping up. It made sense for the world that James Gunn is trying to build, or just in general, all the filmmakers of DC are trying to build. So I thought that their inclusion was cool. I never read Women of Tomorrow, but based on what you're describing, based on just the ways that they can go with the story with Supergirl going to planets with red suns, I feel like that is a interesting just concept. And Clark and Kara's relationship is very interesting too. and how it's kind of just like very sibling esque, and Clark being look up and Kara being look out. I feel like that's a very interesting juxtaposition. So I'm interested for how they're going to do this. I think it could be very cool, and I feel like the casting is very cool as well.
Oh yeah. Millie Alcock, who played Rhaenyra in House of the Dragon, the younger version, and yeah, that's definitely some good casting there. And her costume looks great, and in the most recent poster, the costume's a little different. They clearly changed it a bit for the movie, for the upcoming movie. But yeah, I'm excited for that. For those that don't know, Supergirl is Superman's cousin, and kind of like, without spoiling potential storyline for the movie, her her like origin is that she grew up on Krypton and was a teenager when Superman was a baby. Um, and she was, in one version of her origins, also sent off the planet to go to Earth with um, baby Kal-El to raise him. Um, but they got split up, and she was essentially frozen in time. And then eventually, when she gets to Earth, she's the same age she was when Krypton blew up, whereas Superman is now like 30 years old. So, and at the end of this movie, you see that she's very young, where he's 30. So it seems like they may be doing that storyline. There's also a version of her origin where she was on like different kind of like Kryptonian colony, and I don't know too much about that storyline to even talk about that. They could also do that, but I don't think they're going to do that because the version I just described is kind of like the more popular one that most people tend to do. Um,
Okay.
and yeah, the movie itself, Supergirl, is being written by Anna Nogueira, who is also writing a Teen Titans movie, and recently it was announced that she's writing the Wonder Woman movie. So I hope that James Gunn's
She got
confidence,
joints.
yeah, I hope that James Gunn's confidence in her writing is warranted. Because if Supergirl isn't a hit, the scripts are going to be written so fast for those movies. They're going to be rewritten so fast. But I mean, if James Gunn likes this woman's writing so much that he's like, oh yeah, you should also write Supergirl, and oh yeah, you should also write Wonder Woman, then I want to trust him.
Right.
But kind of like sticking on
That
that,
I didn't know.
yeah,
But yeah.
kind of sticking on that same train. Um, let's talk about the message from Superman's parents from Krypton, Jor-El and Lara Zor-El, or Lara-El. Zor-El is Supergirl's last name. But yeah, I'm very curious to see where they're going to go with this. So in the movie, there's a message that Superman listens to from his parents, where they're like, we're sending you to Earth to keep you safe, and when you get there, you're gonna have these special powers. Use them to help and protect people. Um, and part of it's cut off, and then it's fixed by Lex Luthor and his people, and it turns out that they actually sent him there to like take over Earth. And James Gunn has doubled down, saying that is true, 100%. And several times in the movies, you have characters that we trust confirm, like, yeah, this is true. It's no way they could have faked it. And I'm not sure how to feel about that, because this isn't something that's not been done before, but it's also not most people who read comics' favorite version of the origin of Superman. They don't like when he's like, Omni-Man. They don't like when he's like
Right.
a Saiyan, like Goku was originally sent to Earth to destroy or take over the planet. Like, not everybody's a fan of that.
Right.
It doesn't fully bother me, more so because I kind of want to trust where James Gunn's going with this and hope that ultimately it's going to be a very interesting and fun storyline. But it does beg the question, like, okay, does Kara know this? And if so, is she hiding it? But is that maybe also why she's drowning herself in alcohol and drugs? Because she knows this and she's trying to like run from it and hide from it? That could be an interesting storyline.
Right.
Uh, this, yeah. What were your thoughts on that?
I thought it was a good narrative reveal. As far as in like the books, I don't know which writers have went that route with the narrative before, but I think it's interesting, and I think if written the right way, it can be a testament to Superman's kindness and his want to protect people even more. And I feel like with the characterization that James Gunn's trying to do of Superman, or the central conflict that he's trying to harp on with Superman, is him being sent for a certain purpose, but him being on Earth contrasts with that purpose. Him having human experiences, human emotions, a human family, it contrasts with the purpose he was initially sent for. I feel like that conflict and that internal conflict is very interesting, and I feel like in the right hands, that can be handled very well, and it can be very just very. It can be thoughtful. It can be well done. I think it could lead to some very cool narrative writing. If done badly, I feel like it could become tired. It could be, and it could ultimately mess with the character in a way that's very just not satisfying. Like it could be not satisfying doing that. But
Yeah. So,
I feel like, yeah,
funnily enough, they did it. They did the same thing recently in the current ongoing Superman cartoon, My Adventures with Superman. That in the second season, the story arc involved both Clark and Kara, and Kara working for being brainwashed by Brainiac to take over planets, and it also being revealed that the like Kryptonians were very much like Saiyans, especially since that show is heavily takes a lot of inspiration from anime and Dragon Ball. They were like actual conquerors, and Brainiac is trying to like continue the legacy of Krypton and brainwashing Supergirl to continue to conquer. And um, it was a very interesting storyline that worked within the context of that show. And I'd be interested to see if they do something similar in the movies, especially if they involve Brainiac, because Brainiac has not been in a live action movie. It's time for that man to make his debut. He's one of
yeah,
Superman's premier villains, and he has not shown up yet. I have a feeling he will most likely be the villain of the second movie.
yeah. I would like to think so too. Because yeah, aside from like games, aside from the games, aside from like television shows or cartoons, like he's never really made an appearance in a film. So I feel like Brainiac being a villain in a mainline Superman movie, that has to happen for sure. Um, yeah, I guess what is the overall discourse in regards to them going with that route for Superman? Is it just overall we don't want it to be changed? We don't want the characterization of Krypton to change because it would be derivative of a lot of modern soup type character takes? Like, is that the overall kind of argument that folks have right now?
Yeah, it is a matter of like I'm seeing it from the perspective of like a lot of very much like super comic book fans that I follow on Twitter, or just like even that I don't follow, that my Twitter timeline just points me towards, because that's mostly what I tend to interact with, of people like just not being a fan of that, for like you said, derivative of like evil Superman storylines that have been done to death, and people just don't want that to be perpetuated because they want this like good version of Superman that is hopeful, that is a good person to keep going, and for that to not be ruined. But like you said, it could, if done right, kind of aid that storyline and help show how him being raised on Earth by the Kents made him a good person. But also, there's a lot of people who just like his parents at the very least, not necessarily the planet of Krypton, but his parents from Krypton to be good people. Because I mean, the reason the planet blew up is because some other people on the planet weren't good people, um, and just didn't listen to the scientists who knew what they were talking about. Which also could be, that could also be a very interesting story, and very topical in terms of like
Right.
climate change and things like that. And there's a chance they do a bit of both, where like maybe his parents did send that message, but maybe they sent that message because they were being watched, and maybe the rest of the planet is full of like conquerors, but they aren't conquerors, or they don't want to be conquerors anymore. Like there's so many different directions it could go in that I want to give James Gunn a benefit of the doubt that ultimately it's going to be a good story.
In regards to this film, I don't think that reveal for Superman's parents, I don't think that it robs Superman of being hopeful or being like a bright light. Like, I don't think it robs him of that. I feel like, yeah, it aids. So if they continue to like go down that narrative path, I feel like it could be interesting, because I didn't get Omni Man or Homelander from this. I just didn't get that at all. I feel like the characterization they do of Superman here is just very like relentlessly hopeful. Just relentlessly hopeful, and just very focused around good or the greater good. Um, Everyone talked about him saving a squirrel. Like, he's just a very, just a deeply thoughtful Superman. And I feel like him being who he is in the film alone is enough to kind of wipe away any Homelander comparisons or Omni-Man comparisons. Yeah, I feel like it adds nuance to it. It's not just, I am here to conquer planets, because I feel like the character Clark here is just far too rich for it to be just, he's Omni-Man.
For sure.
Um,
But
so, yeah, yeah.
I like to get your pain on like some of the other characters in the movie. Specifically, Lex Luthor, who is absolutely great in this. Nicholas Hoult
Yeah.
does an incredible job as Lex, and I especially like some of the little human moments we get from Lex. I think are really funny, where he like is like rubbing his employee's shoulders during the first fight scene, where he's like ordering the Hammer Baravia on how to fight, or like when he gives the like
Right.
the like foreign leader a donut because he likes the donut so much he wanted him to try it. Like just those small
Right.
moments of him being a normal person is like very funny to me.
Right.
But like, what are your thoughts on Lex in this movie and Nicholas Holt's portrayal?
But yeah, I thought he was great. And I think Nicholas Hoult definitely understood the assignment. Like, I think he was a full embodied character. And he genuinely believes he deserves it all. And he just can't fathom the idea that there's anyone more powerful than him, and it sends him into a spiral. Like, he compares himself to like all of the thinkers and all of the innovators, and he's just like, the fact that they're even mentioned in the same breath of me makes me want to gag. Like, he nailed that sort of that's that want to deeply be appreciated, to deeply be loved. Like, he captured that very well, and in a very interesting and funny way. Like, even like that line in the film where Clark's like, your obsession with me has become like very weird, like, or it's become very unhealthy. um he nailed that aspect very well, because yeah, he feels like a person. He's not just like comic book bad villain. You can genuinely see the emotional toll that Superman's existence has taken on him. Like, it's a very, it's
Yeah.
definitely fueled by envy.
Number one hater in
And
comics.
oh yeah, he's the hater. Like, he's the master hater. And he just really, he got that character down very well. Um, Overall, in regards to how Lex fits into the story, it's definitely a overarching motif of like brains versus brawn. Um, but I feel like Luther is kind of the brawn to an extent. Like, I feel like Luther, like, he has the resources, and like just he can make a pocket universe and just do a lot of just like grand things, but he doesn't have any like willpower. He doesn't really have respect. A lot of the people that are around him due to fear of being put in a box. And I feel like the overall characterization with Lex was just very well done.
Yeah, they
Like, I
made it
thought it was
clear
very
that
good characterization.
he is a bad person. He shot an innocent person, a friend of
Yes.
Superman. He locked an ex in a box in a pocket dimension prison because she wrote an article about him or something like that. Yeah,
Yes.
Lex is
Like,
absolutely a
he's
bad
just a
person. But sticking on
yes.
like
He's a
that,
deeply insecure person. Yeah.
yeah. But rounding up the trinity of kind of lead characters. What are your thoughts on Lois Lane in this movie, played by was it Rachel Brosnahan?
Yeah. I thought that the characterization of Lois was great. I think that Rachel Brosnahan did I think she was great too. I mean, of course, the first scene with Lois Lane interviewing Superman, I thought that was a very cool way of seeing their dynamic, but also seeing how they're new to this. Like, even though the universe is established, um, Lois and Clark are clearly in a new territory, and things are starting to aim towards the serious. And it's a very just modern take on the relationship between Superman and Lois. Like, I feel like it was a very modern take, and I feel like her character is just very just cool and well done. Um, yeah, in regards to the characterization of Lois, I thought that it worked, and I like the fact that she's just like characterization in like some of the cartoons or the comics, she just goes for things. Like, she goes to the Hall of Justice and is just like, y'all need to help Superman. And because she's just has so much conviction and she's so focused and has so much intent, like, they just listen to her. um, and I feel like that aspect of her character and that focus and that just deep intention, I feel like she captured that very well, and it definitely came across in the film. Like, I definitely got that aspect of her character in it.
Yeah, and that kind of assertiveness got Mr. Terrific to come and help her out, and Mr. Terrific was awesome in this movie. It was so great to see
Yes.
a somewhat lesser known character that I latched onto from the Just League Unlimited cartoon get his due. He was so awesome in this. How did you like Mr. Terrific, played by was it Eddie Gathegi?
Yeah. I really enjoyed Mr. Terrific. Of course, there's the metatextual aspect of all of us watching X-Men First Class when we were kids and seeing Darwin get killed in like the first act of the
The guy
movie.
whose power is supposed to be
Uh,
that he can't die. He adapts to
exactly.
anything, and then immediately they kill him off, and he's the first one to die. He's the black dude.
Exactly. And I feel like the metatextual aspect of him getting his shine playing this character, I thought that, like, of course, just from a meta perspective, that was very cool. But the character himself, I think he's just the aspect of him just being good at everything and just being Mr. Terrific. He's like, I'm Mr. Terrific.
He's like,
Like, do
I'm
you not
goddamn
know who
Mr.
I am?
Terrific.
Exactly. Like, he's just I really enjoyed his character a lot. And you alluded to it last week, but I thought that the oneer with him was great.
That fight seems so
I
good.
thought that was a cool.
I've also been listening to
Yeah, I thought it was great.
that song 5 years time all week.
Yeah. Which, again, another trademark is just James Gunn needle drops. And I feel like there's a lot of good ones here.
Yeah,
It's not Guardians of the Galaxy, like, where he
tries to keep it low.
he,
Like
he reins it in.
there's only like 2 actual big needle drops. One at the very end of the movie with Punk Rocker, and then that 5 years time one.
Right. Like, he's very intentional with the needle drops here. Which, yeah, I really enjoyed Mr. Terrific's character here.
Rumor has it that he's going to be getting a spinoff.
Yeah.
And I hope that
Really?
it is going to be an adaptation of the Terrifics comic, which was DC essentially trying to do their own Fantastic Four, led by Mr. Terrific. And the roster included another character that is featured in this movie, Metamorpho, as essentially kind of like the thing of the team.
Mm.
And then the remaining 2 members are Phantom Girl, who's kind of their invisible woman, who's this woman from another dimension who can like phase, but kind of like Kitty Pryde, and like become intangible and go through walls and things like that. And then the final member being there in terms of power set, Mr. Fantastic, but in terms of personality, the Human Torch is Plastic Man, who is DC's premier stretchy guy, who Ben Schwartzman has been wanting to play him for years. And now's the time. If this Mr. Terrific show or movie ends up being an adaptation of The Terrifics, then Ben Schwartz wants to do it. He actively wants to do it, and he's so perfect for it. Because Plastic Man is very much a goofy character.
He's done Sonic, and now he's gonna do Plastic Man. I feel like that's a very cool progression of roles for Ben Schwartz. I feel like that. Yeah, that sounds cool.
There's also rumors of a Jimmy Olsen spinoff, and it's just been a recent rumor that happened as of today is that Gorilla Grodd will play a role in this spinoff. And that's interesting.
With Jimmy?
Yeah, because
yes, that is interesting.
I don't know if you saw any of the like advertising for this movie, but they did these like vlog style videos with Jimmy Olsen at the Daily Planet, and it made me.
Yeah, you told me, and they were like Office style.
Yeah, it made me want an Office style mockumentary, and I hope that's what the Jimmy Show is. But yeah, I also saw someone compare the average Jimmy Olsen storyline in the comics to an episode of the regular show, and that is very accurate. Because they always start off super mundane, but then they end with Jimmy fighting God and somehow winning. And I hope that is what this Jimmy Olsen show is. That is a mockumentary, but Jimmy Olsen ended up encountering some wild stuff in Metropolis with like some supporting characters from the planet. But also, they made him a ladies' man in this. Reluctantly, it seems. Like he doesn't want the power that he holds. He's drowning in success. Like
he's just like, why do I have so much sauce?
Exactly.
I can't stand it. Why?
What's happening? And then you see that with Eve Tessmacher, which is a character from the first Superman movie from '78. I from the beginning I was like, that's probably Miss Tessmacher, and it wasn't until the very end where they show her full name and it says Eve Tessmacher, and I was like, that's her. I knew it. And, she's played off as this very ditzy, blonde model lady. And then at the very end, it turns out she is a very intelligent woman who was very strategically, using kind of Lex's, lesser thoughts on her to take pictures of documents and maps and things, just incriminating things that he has around his office that she's been in as kind of insurance or almost, to, protect herself, and she sends that all to Jimmy and Lois, and that kind of leads into how Lex is eventually captured. And one of the very brief but hilarious jokes for me was when he was getting shoved into the cop car and the dude yells, "Take his bald ass to Belle Reve," and I was like, you didn't have to do that to that man. You didn't have to call him bald.
I saw it with my pops, and he busted out laughing. He couldn't help it.
It was funny.
He was quoting it even after the theater.
Yeah, what is it? It was like that same week I saw it the first time. I was taking a shower and I was thinking about Superman, and I randomly just said out loud, "Take his bald ass to Belle Reve."
The way he said it was just so disapproving. He was like, man, ugh. It's just the tone he said it was just.
That's about to be a meme used against bald people for the rest of time.
Oh, forever. Oh, SpongeBob. The SpongeBob movie, it's gotten dethroned, I think.
But yeah. Some great side characters in this movie, like you mentioned. The Justice Gang, as they're called here, but eventually they'll be called the Justice League or something eventually. I do want to briefly touch on the hate that the movie's getting, which is very artificial. But it was predicted.
It's dumb. I'm sorry.
It was predicted by Gunn based on, the activity that the Snyder Cult has had online for years at this point. So he made a joke about it involving rage-baiting monkeys employed by Lex Luthor, which results in haters online being either called one of Lex's monkeys or Lex's burner accounts. So
right.
He pretty much just set up that joke for everybody to just get called one of Lex's stooges. And that's why they're hating on Superman.
I didn't even think about that from a meta perspective. I didn't think about the monkeys being people in the Snyder Cult. That's funny. Yeah. Media literacy, man. I don't even know where to start. from the start of this film, like just the frame by frame by frame analysis, it felt like I was in 2016 again, in like the worst possible way. Like it felt like just like peak Gamergate YouTube, and it was just like no film analysis of any like genuine critique, and it's almost this ethos of wanting films to be bad, and it almost kind of beckons this question of like, do y'all like anything? Like, why do y'all want things made by like crews of people that couldn't take care of their kids or probably missed certain recitals so they could be a key grip for this movie? Why do you want these films to fail? And I feel like a lot of it was definitely based on like just like people that have a very strong allegiance to what Zack Snyder did. Um,
Which
and I feel
he
like
does
a
not
lot of it,
care for, Zack Snyder himself. He's like, please leave me
right?
alone. Stop associating my name with
Yeah,
these
he's like
people.
yeah, and it's like he's doing his own thing now. He's making the Rebel Moon joints and like making or like Army of the Dead. Like he's doing his own stuff right now.
And they're
So
not
it's
even
like
supporting that. They're
he
not supporting the things that the
right,
person they claim to love makes.
right, and it just feels very. I feel like there are people that just really love the Snyder films and want them to get their due. Um, I feel like a lot of people in that camp got very weird, and it just became very alt-righty and very anti-woke in regards to a lot of the discourse. And I feel like that's with people
Yeah.
who are like deep Snyder fans and people that are outside of that are just alt-right leaning and are calling the film woke because Superman cares about people.
And it is woke. And
Um,
woke isn't a bad thing. Like I'm
exactly.
tired of letting them take this word from us and make it a bad thing. Being woke is not a bad thing.
Right.
To be woke
It's
is to
like
be aware
being
of the
empath.
injustices of the world.
Exactly. Yeah, and it's like being aware of injustice in the world or having empathy. It it for some reason there's like, or not for some reason, this was designed this way for apathy to be ever present and empathy to be kind of just this fleeting thing. And Superman, or at least like with James Gunn, you can tell he's just like, I want to make a film that is just like unrelentingly kind, and like I feel like I'm butchering the line, but like kind is the new punk rock.
Yeah.
Or like kindness is the new punk rock, like that phrase that's kind of going around after the film came out.
Yeah,
It's
Lois said that like he finds everyone that he meets beautiful. And he said maybe that's the new punk rock.
yeah, like in a lot of like early DC stuff, or like even like Joker, like a lot of folks that latch on to superhero films, not saying the majority or anything, but there's like a large chunk of people that latch on to nihilism, they just want to see things destroyed. And I feel like nihilism is definitely ever present, especially for folks that love things like the Joker, or loved the wrong aspects of the Dark Knight films and like made the Joker their entire personality. It's to watch a DC superhero film that's like being kind is a revolutionary act. I
Yeah.
feel like people don't know how to handle something that sincere.
It's great that this is
Like
where
it's so
the DC universe started because
yeah,
somehow a universe that has always been so much more hope filled and positive than the Marvel universe became this super dark dour thing with the original DC extended universe. And now James Gunn being like, no, this is what it should be. Like the leads of this universe, Superman, Batman,
right.
Wonder Woman, The Flash, Green Lantern, Aquaman, Martian Manhunter, they should all be very hopeful. Like, yes, Batman is hopeful. That's his whole thing. His whole thing is that he's at night fighting because he
Yeah.
believes the world can be a better place and he wants it to be a better place. He's about justice, not vengeance, justice. He learns that. He starts off about vengeance, but it eventually becomes about justice. And yeah, having it be
Oh,
like, yeah,
yeah.
no, we're
And
not
that
about
yeah.
nihilism. Like the DC universe has always been a universe where and a lot of jokes have been made about it online where like the average citizen of the DC universe loves superheroes. The average citizen of the Marvel universe hates superheroes, especially mutants. Like,
Yes.
and it's been the other way around in terms of live action movies, which is insane.
It's like so many of which is not a diss to the Snyder films because I think that there is some good in those movies. Maybe conversation for another day, but I do have a hot take that Zack Snyder is our George Lucas. But that's a very fast hot take. Um, Overall, thought that it was just a very sincere, fun superhero film, and I feel like it was very fitting for Superman. I think it's a cool start for the DC universe and what Gunn and company are trying to do. Thought that the characterization was fun, and I think it's cool to have a mainstream character think that people are beautiful and think that life is beautiful and that is very life affirming and cares about like that's such a counter message from so much superhero media because I feel like the dark like I mean of course the Night trilogy like it's a lot of respect and those films are well made, but I feel like people saw those films and thought realism and grittiness equals quality, and I feel like these like Warner Brothers and a fair amount of superhero films dived into that so much where nihilism became ever present in anything that was remotely kind or sweet or genuine. It became kind of seen as saccharine and like very unrealistic or lame. Like kindness kind of became lame for superheroes, and I feel like that's a problem. And I feel like it's just very cool to see a superhero film where it's just very unrelentingly hopeful and just very human affirming and life affirming and affirming of the world. Um, 'Cause I feel like it's been a minute since we've had that, and yeah, I just feel like it's a fun sci-fi film that respects the audience. There's some on those moments like the monologue Superman has on the end. And you said that, like I remember you mentioned it. It is a bit on the nose, but I feel like it's on the nose in a way that's necessary. Because yeah, it's a very kind film and a very loving film with a lot of heart, and the heart beats so loudly that even through all of his flaws, I can't help but appreciate it and like it,
Yeah,
and just
and
greatly enjoy it.
its effects is already being seen online where we're seeing the opposite of these like alpha stuff that's being online and people like being like they want to be like Superman, and like I'm seeing tweets of people like using the picture of Superman laying back on the table and healing from the sunlight at the end of the movie and smiling, looking at the images of his parents on Earth, and using that and saying how it made them want to be a better man and things like that. And I'm like, yes, this is what Superman should be.
Yeah,
This is awesome. More of this,
right,
less of that other shit. But
exactly.
to wrap things up, I definitely had some things I want to talk about in terms of criticism of like the few things that I didn't like and that I thought could have been
Hmm.
better. But we can save that for next time, where we will also be talking about Fantastic Four, because I'm gonna go see that tomorrow night. So we'll have our
Yeah.
spoiler-free discussion of that. Hey guys, Dijon here, solo for this section of the podcast for a spoiler-free and brief review of Fantastic Four First Steps. I watched this after we finished all the recording for this episode, so I decided to sit down myself, especially since I was the only person on the podcast who'd seen it, and just give you guys a very short review. Yeah, this, for me personally, is the first 10 out of 10 Marvel movie since Avengers Endgame. And I think a big part of that is due to the fact that this takes place in its own isolated universe, separate from the main MCU continuity. Therefore, free from the baggage of the MCU and the need to set up the next movie. Director Matt Shackman, who is an unapologetic comic nerd, he talks about it constantly, especially Jonathan Hickman's run on the Fantastic Four. He was able to just tell an incredible story because he could just focus on what the story needed to do and not anything else. And I think that's part of what makes this movie just a solid experience all around. There is not there was not a single second that I wasn't entertained while watching this movie. The family of the Fantastic Four is just that, they're a family. You feel it. From the beginning, they are a family. Even before, they get their abilities, which isn't how it is usually in a lot of the adaptations. You don't really get to fully feel that family dynamic in any of the previous live action films before they get their abilities, or know that they were a family before they get their abilities. But this movie does a great job of showing just how close everyone is. What it also does a great job of doing that other adaptations haven't is making it clear that every single member of the Fantastic Four is smart in their own way. They are highly intelligent. It takes a lot to be an astronaut. So everybody on this mission has to be smart, not just Sue and Reed, but so does Ben Grimm, the Thing, and Johnny Storm, the Human Torch. And Johnny Storm especially has a flash of brilliance in this movie that ultimately, ends up being, a major component in how they defeat the bad guy, and it's awesome. And Johnny Storm, he's a standout for me. I know a lot of people were apprehensive about Joseph Quinn playing the Human Torch, but he was awesome. Johnny Storm's always been my favorite member of Fantastic Four. I think he's a fan favorite amongst most people. And he's very cool in this. And I love how often he flames on. He flames on so much. We are not spared any amount of flaming on from Johnny Storm, and it's awesome. We are unfortunately spared from seeing Mr. Fantastic use his powers too much, and that sucks. Invisible Woman, we see her as a decent bit, specifically the invisibility, because I think that's, in the grand scheme of visual effects, an easier one to do. So it's easy to have her just go invisible every now and again. But her force fields in this also take on a hint of invisibility, but they have this like refractory kind of rainbow effect that looks really cool, but does render her force fields kind of hard to see sometimes, and I wish they were a little bit more visible, but the effect is cool. But I don't think we get to see her force field specifically too often. And the Thing is the Thing, super strength, he's big, he's orange, he's made of rock, so we see that all the time. But we don't get to see Mr. Fantastic stretch as often as I would like. He does stretch, but he's not a weirdo. Mr. Fantastic is supposed to be a weirdo. I read recently, I don't know how true this is, it was just from a Twitter post, so they could just be, talking out of their ass, but like, I heard that the word fantastic essentially meant strange back in the 60s. So Mr. Fantastic taking on the name Mr. Fantastic was meant to be comparable with Ben Grimm going by the Thing. And, the team being called the Fantastic Four was essentially meant to be they're the strange four, the weird four, they're oddities. So Mr. Fantastic is supposed to be an oddity. He's supposed to be weird. And I don't think they make him as much of a weirdo when it comes to the use of his powers as he is in the comics. And I hope that's something that they change in the future. But in terms of characterization, period, he's great. I think he's the most understated. Pedro Pascal as Reed Richards. He's a very, from my understanding, admittedly, I've not read a lot of Fantastic Four comics. I've only just started getting into them. He's pretty much a very kind of like composite version of a lot of different versions of Reed. And he does a decent job. And I think he does a pretty good job. And we all know, I think Pedro Pascal is a great actor. He's been in so many great things recently. So we know he has, the potential to really do great with this character. And I think this is a good start. The standout in this film for me, I already said was Johnny, but I would say just behind him is Sue. Vanessa Kirby as Susan Storm is incredible. She's the heart of the team, as she should be. And in a lot of ways, she's the leader. She's the one calling the shots. Not Reed Richards like it is early in the comics, and how a lot of people tend to, assume simply due to the fact that he's a man. But yeah, no, she's the shot caller, in all honesty. And last but certainly not least, unfortunately, Ben Grimm, the Thing, is a bit underutilized. And part of that is due to the fact that it seems like they cut out some of his scenes, and that sucks. It seems like because of the Eternals, they've learned the wrong lessons from why that movie didn't do as well as I wish it did. I personally love the Eternals, and have like started going out of their way to prevent movies from being over 2 hours long, and that sucks. And a lot of stuff that was shown in the trailers were cut from this movie because of that, and a lot of the emotional moments with Ben seem to have been cut because of that, and that's unfortunate. He is still great in this movie. We just don't get as much of him as I wish we would have. In terms of villains, of course, we have Galactus and Silver Surfer. Julia Garner as Silver Surfer is awesome. Also, the visual effects look perfectly fine and oftentimes great. People like to complain just to complain. She looks awesome. There's of course also a level of sexism there because it's Shala Ball, which in the comics is the original Silver Surfer, Norrin Radd, who's a man's wife, they made her the Silver Surfer in this universe, and people are upset about that. But to me, it's not that deep. She's awesome. She's great. Her fight sequences are so cool, and she's, I think, like Silver Surfer specifically is like the fastest character in the Marvel universe, and I'm a big fan of speedsters and speedy characters, and they really do showcase her speed in this in a very awesome way. It's really cool. And last but certainly not least, to wrap up this review, Galactus, Ralph Ineson playing Galactus, and they used his face. At one, they had him put on a costume to scan him to create that CGI character, and also there are some practical moments with him in suit, and it's awesome. He's great. Very imposing, not a cloud. You actually get to see him. He's shown to be powerful, and it takes a lot to do what they need to do. So that's my spoiler-free Fantastic Four First Steps review. You'll be getting a more detailed and I think still spoiler-free review in the next episode in 2 weeks. And then the week after that, Christian has seen it. We'll get into spoilers. Moving on to video games. What have you been playing lately?
Still Deltarune. I've been playing through it again for a couple friends of mine. Just to, because they haven't played Chapter 3 and 4, and that's been really, really fun. I've been doing a lot of Repo lately, that like multiplayer game that's very, very much like, what is it? What's the other one?
Something Company, Lethal Company.
Lethal Company, yeah. It's very Lethal Company-esque, but it's a lot. It's hard to describe because it's Lethal Company-esque, but it also has some elements of that other one, like content warning. It's like its own separate thing because it got a really big content update, and so my friends have been like, "You should play it with us," and I'm like, "Okay." And it's been nice, but it's also been a little scary. More than like Lethal Company and content warning have ever scared me, mostly because I don't know how to play it as well as I do the other two. But it's been nice. I've also fallen into the trap of Ubu Musume Pretty Derby, and have devoted my life to these anime girl horses. It's bleak. It's bleak in here because I downloaded it for the kicks and giggles. Like, oh, it's free. Why not just play this silly horse girl gotcha game? And now I feel like an actual horse trainer that like cares about these horses. It's insane, but very fun for a gotcha game. I'm hoping that it doesn't fall into the trap that like most gotchas do, where it's like it starts off really, really fun because it's like the gotcha element isn't really that important, and then the gotcha becomes so important that it's like you lose the enjoyment of the rest of the game. Fingers crossed that does not happen, but I don't have hope, according to what some other like more dedicated fans have said, which is unfortunate. I've also gotten back into Fear and Hunger because Termina, the second one, is about to get a really big content update, so it's been making me like itch to play it a little more. And that's been really, really fun. Really frustrating, but really fun. And the creator brought back some mechanics that I'm not quite happy with, but we'll see. We'll see how they play when the update actually comes. Oh, and me and the girlfriend started playing Cyberpunk for real this time because it's free on PS Plus, and it runs way better on the PlayStation than it does my rinky-dink computer. So we've been playing that, and that's been really fun. And it's nice to see it actually work and not chug.
I'm so excited to hear what you think about that, because I'm like, it has to work fine on PS4 now because it runs on a Switch too.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Yeah, it runs like a dream. It's really good.
Yeah, I love that game so much. That game has entered like it might be top 10 for me now. I love that game.
Oh wow,
that game is so good.
It is. From what we haven't gotten that far, but I'm really enjoying what I've seen as of right now.
Yeah.
And that's it. That's all I've got.
Yeah, for me, still playing Doom: The Dark Ages. Slowly, making my way through it, but not force myself to rush through it or anything. It took me a while to finish both Doom Eternal and 2016, though 2016 was quicker because I like 2016 more than Eternal. I like it more than Dark Ages too, but Dark Ages, it took a bit to grow on me, but I'm enjoying it a lot now because I feel like it was kind of just like a slow start to like introduce a lot of its core mechanics, which I felt like was really weird. But once you get everything, and just start to now upgrade your weapons and things and different abilities, then it starts getting really fun. I've mentioned it before, but I think I dislike is that you're not as encouraged to use different weapons. Like you could very easily other than running out of ammo, like you're not encouraged
Mhm.
to use different weapons. Like the only time sometimes I'll use one weapon for an encounter and then run out of ammo. I'm like, oh well, now I gotta switch. um, which like I like that Eternal forced you to switch between weapons to take out certain enemies because you use the
Mm.
grenade launcher to launch a grenade into a cacademon's mouth and they explode and die automatically, or blow up a what are they called? I always forget the name of the demons. Arachnotron. That's what it's called.
Arachnotron, yeah.
The or blow up the Arachnotron's turret. Like it was, or you use the sniper rifle to take out. I forget. Or I think you can also use the sniper rifle to take out Arachnotron's turret. Like yeah, like you have specific weapons for specific enemies that are useful for them. And
Mhm.
you just don't have that anymore. So like you don't feel as incentivized
Oh.
to utilize the entirety of your arsenal. And
Mm.
whenever I'm just faced with a big demon, I'm like, up rocket launcher time. So like, yeah, I wish they encouraged you to switch weapons more often. Of course, playing Marvel Rivals, especially since season 3 started, releasing with Jean Grey, aka the Phoenix, and she's real fun. She might become one of my go-to ranged duelists. She requires good aim because her shot spread is damn near the size of a pinprick, so you got to be precise. But she also excels at doing damage to groups, since every third hit on an enemy causes an explosion. And
Oh.
any enemies caught in an explosion only need 2 more hits to cause another explosion. So, or if
Wow.
you hit them, because what happens is she hits you, she puts a mark on you. If she puts 3 marks on you, then it explodes. And if a person explodes and they're next to their teammates, that'll also put a mark on them. So you only have to put 2 more marks to then have them explode and start the cycle all over. But if you get a hit shot, it's automatically 2 marks. I think it's automatically 2 marks, or it might automatically explode. I can't remember. But either way, it expedites the process. And yeah, she's fun. I learned that sometimes you do have to just hold the trigger instead of like just tapping it, especially since I'm scared I might be getting arthritis because sometimes my hands be hurting, and I'm like, no.
Oh no.
And I'm like, no, you can't do this to me. I play too many games for this to happen. But
Right.
yeah, she's fun so far. But the big one, Donkey Kong Bonanza came out. And
Yeah.
I went and picked up a physical copy the day of release, and boy, is it fun. Don't worry. I will bring you my Switch next week so you can check it out.
Okay.
Whenever you have time, because you're busy.
Yeah.
But yeah, so far, Smashing Things has just not gotten old. I know it's only been a couple of days, but I don't think it's gonna get old. Even after I beat the game, I think I'm still going to just hop in every now and again and smash some stuff and have it be like a comfort game that I just hop in every now and again. Especially since there's so many collectibles. I assume you've played Super Mario Odyssey, and there is an ungodly amount of moons in that game, and there are just as many bananas in this to collect. And every like 5 bananas, you get a skill point. So I'm always hunting down bananas so I can upgrade my skills because it's a skill tree, and it's a good skill tree.
Wow.
And I'm having a lot of fun just finding bananas and then unlocking skills to make it easier to like smash through stuff. I've only gotten one of the Bonanzas, so I'm still early in the game. I've gotten a Kong Bonanza, turn into a bigger monkey, and smash harder. And yeah, it's real fun. I feel like Odd Rock is weird because it like almost feels unnecessary, and it could have just been Pauline from the beginning because like we all know it's Pauline. You told us. You also it's on the cover of the game. So it's like it's not like it's a surprise that Otterreich is Pauline. So I feel like it should have just been Pauline from the beginning. Like there was honestly no reason for her to ever have been a rock. It just it felt like an unnecessary inclusion. Just have it be Pauline. But Pauline's fun. Like there are places you can go to like rest and like recover hearts, and then it gives you like bonus hearts. And as you're sleeping, Pauline will like wake you up and like have a conversation with Donkey Kong, and it's fun. But yeah, I'm having a good time. Don't have much to say yet because I'm still early in the game. But the platforming is also very fun. Very simple in comparison. I feel like Mario has a lot more kind of like complexities in like the various different jumps you can do, and people can get real. The skill ceiling on that is a lot higher. And in this, I feel like the skill ceiling isn't as high with the platforming, but it's not like when you combine certain of the moves he can do. Like he has the like roll he does. If you just jump off a platform and then roll, that's the end of that, and then you just fall. But if you roll off a platform, then jump, you can then roll again, so you can go further vertically. And there's a bunch of different stuff like that you can kind of like have a bit higher of a skill ceiling in terms of like figuring out combos to platform better. But yeah, having a good time figuring that stuff out. Yeah, next, moving on to gaming news. There was a Ghost of Tsushima, or excuse me, Ghost of Yotei state of play. And a lot of information I'll be pulling from today will come from, of course, the state of play, the state of play itself, but also Michael Kripe at IGN and a GameSpot interview between Timur Hussein and creative directors Nate Fox and Jason Connell.
Ooh.
So did you manage to check out the state of play?
I did, yeah. And I'm excited. I'm so excited. Ah!
Yeah.
I'm so excited.
Ghost of Yotei focuses on Atsu, and she seeks revenge against the Yotei Six at any cost. It's a bloody journey that has led Atsu's enemies to fear her, with many worried that she is a legendary Unreal spirit come to life. Ghost of Yotei fuels this journey of vengeance in a completely new way, allowing players to flash back to his protagonist's younger years with the simple press of a button. In regards to flashbacks, in the GameSpot interview, Jason Connell says, "We wanted to establish that feeling of what it used to be so that you could understand Atsu's loss. And I think everybody has had this experience where you maybe go home to your parents' house and you see the bedroom that you grew up in, and whether you like it or not, you remember who you were at that time. These memories come back, and it's a very human experience. And to make it interactive just helps drive home the universality of it." So I'm very curious about how this works, and if it's more or less effective than just throwing us into a flashback for a short period of time, like in the first game. Because, I don't know, from the outside looking at it, to me, it kind of just seems like more of a technical showcase of the power of the PS5 than an actual meaningful feature.
Right.
Because I feel like, I don't know, you could just put me in a flashback and I'll be fine. But I'll have to, actually experience it to know for sure. What are your thoughts?
I think it's a good, like, I like the idea of it, but I really do think the execution is like what'll make or break it. Because if like, I don't know, I'm nervous about it because like it sounds cool in theory, but it has the potential to be like not like I won't think about it while playing, and that kind of it makes me sad because it's like I said, it sounds cool.
Yeah. We also learn about how they are prioritizing exploration through a new clue system. So traveling through Ezo means encountering a land far different from the war-torn island of Tsushima. Beautiful in its own right, Ghost of Yotei's new map encourages players to experience Atsu's journey how they please, with Sucker Punch going as far as to say the adventure focuses on player freedom more than any game. One example of this newfound player freedom can be found in the clue system, which can lead the player in new directions. While some information gained during the interrogation may see Atsu travel to snowy mountaintops that hide hidden attackers, another may take her to a village ravaged by fire and an army of samurai. In their interview with GameSpot, Jason Connell goes more into detail about the card system and says, but I think that the card clues are that, a little bit. We got rid of this exhaustive journal that's just pages and pages, and text and just what you've done. I don't really remember the journal because it's been a while since I played Tsushima, but you played it more recently. How do you feel about like the journal in the game? Because I don't really remember it that much.
I have mixed feelings on it because like as a tool to like help us figure out what we were doing when we like would drop it for a little bit and then pick it back up, it was nice. But like once you get like a whole bunch of quests, it really gets like I got not overwhelming necessarily, but it's like, damn, I have all this shit I need to do. And so little time to do it. I don't know. I think this was a step in a good direction.
Yeah,
because like
and Connell says it's exhaustive when people spend more time on the map visuals and pictorial references instead of actually playing the game.
Yeah.
But yeah, he goes on to say that getting these clues, you might get a little bit of a clue because you haven't gotten a weapon in a while or something like that. We might give you a little bit of a clue where a weapon might be, and maybe we tell you where it is for this one, and maybe we'll give you a general location. If weapons are your thing, cool, go do that. Or maybe we'll tell you about armor over here, If armor is your thing and that's what you want, great. We try to give you some of these opportunities so you're not completely aimless, and you'll never be aimless if you're on the golden path, but we try to feed you
Mhm.
enough cool things to whet your appetite for what you possibly could do in this game. So it seems like they want exploration to be core to the gameplay experience and are tying every system to that. So they don't want to just tell you what things are. They give you a clue about where, a sword skin or a armor set is, and it's your job to kind of like go and explore and figure it out.
Right.
But they don't want it. They don't want actually playing the story mode to be difficult. So they want that to be a simple and a thing that you can very easily follow, as opposed to all of the optional stuff.
Mhm.
It also seems like character progression is tied to exploration. And the GameSpot interview, Connell also says, to get weapons in the game, you have to hunt down the weapon sensei. You got to find them in the world, build relationships with them, and then engage with them in submissions. And you'll get to get these new weapons, and they'll train you how to use these cool new things. And you also unlock new abilities at altars of reflection found throughout Ezo. So, like, character progression is also tied to exploring. Exploring is very much key to this game, which makes a lot of sense.
Yeah,
Just exploring Tsushima was real fun. It was very beautiful, so you just want to ride around and look at things. And then, of course, you
for
have
sure.
the various different clues they use to guide you to things like the foxes, and the wind and things like that.
Mhm.
Moving on to some combat, we'll be getting 4 new weapons in addition to the katana, larger odachi sword, kusarigama, aka sickle and chain, a spear, and dual
Mhm.
katanas. And these weapons will replace the stat system from Tsushima. And now each weapon will be used to counter specific enemy types. In the state of play, they mentioned that the odachi is good against larger enemies, and that the dual swords are good against spears. But the creative director Nate Fox says in the GameSpot interview that the Kusarigama is good against shields, as well as large groups of enemies, since you can swing the chain around.
Mhm.
We also get a glimpse of some exciting boss battles that result from the new bounty hunting system.
Ooh.
Yeah, but Atsu herself also has a bounty on her head. Nate Fox says that Atsu starts the game as a sellsword. She doesn't live by the code of the samurai. She'll do whatever it takes to win, and she is so relentless in her hunt for the Yotei 6. And this will result in the occasional encounter with bounty hunters after Atsu on the road, which Assassin's Creed Shadows also has a very similar system, which I think
That's it.
the Assassin's Creed games before that, the was it Origins, Odyssey, Valhalla also have that bounty system. But another thing that I'm like one of the few things that I'm semi concerned about how they handle, or more interested, less concerned, is the camping and the companion system. In
Mm.
between combat encounters and brushes with death, players can allow Atsu to rest under the stars. Here you can cook food, play music, and even meet up with allies, while taking in all Ezo skies have to offer. With these changes also comes a replacement for the standard journal that is known as Atsu's Wolfpack. Sucker Punch calls the menu system a more character-driven way of managing allies and vendors, met during Atsu's journey. It's a straightforward way to see who might have something to offer, and it's wrapped up with art for each face you meet. So yeah, I'm very interested in seeing exactly how the camp system works. Do you get to choose the companions who visit you, or is it random? And do they also have a permanent residence somewhere on the map, or do they only show up in your camp? I'm very interested to know how that works.
Me too. Me too.
But yeah, this is also another change that they're making to the journal system with having this Wolfpack menu with this
Mm.
beautiful art of all the characters that you can cycle through and see who has quest. And last but certainly not least, we have some returning game modes and new ones. The Kurosawa mode returns alongside new immersive options. For those that don't know, Ghost of Tsushima had a black and white visual mode inspired by the samurai films of the legendary Akira Kurosawa. And now
Mhm.
they'll be including 2 more visual modes
Ooh.
inspired by other samurai media legends. The first visual mode is based off of 13 Assassins director Takashi Miike's visual style, moving the camera in closer and adding more blood and mud. And the second mode brings in the work of Samurai Champloo anime director Shinichiro Watanabe by featuring original lo-fi beats, the back moments of exploration and combat with music directed by Watanabe himself. Connell said, "We have several original tracks Watanabe's created and some remixes of our actual score." So I'm excited to hear that
Ooh,
because they
that is really
released
exciting.
2 new tracks, original tracks from the main score of the game
Mhm.
after the state of play, and they're awesome. I listened to the main theme that they released a while ago on all streaming platforms, just simply titled "Ghost of Yotei." It's real good. It's a mix of Japanese music and Western music. It's really fun. And then yeah, they released 2 new ones. One titled the Yotei 6 and one titled Atsu's theme, and they're both really good. Atsu's theme is kind of like, it's basically the main theme goes to Yotei, but with a person actually singing the melody versus just the
Oh,
instrumentals.
sick.
And Yotei 6 is so good. More of that Western theme in there, a little bit of electric guitar towards the end. That's so good.
Mhm.
It's incredible. I highly suggest listening to it. I'm excited for this soundtrack. I could easily see this being one of my favorite soundtracks of the year. Not my favorite, because Expedition 33 is undefeatable. It's just, it can't happen. Because Expedition 33 has entered top 10 territory in terms of soundtracks. Like that
Right,
soundtrack
right.
is incredible. I can't think of many soundtracks I like more than Expedition 33's. But this, I can see this being one of the better ones this year that probably ends up being nominated for a Game Award for Best Soundtrack.
For sure.
But yeah, any other thoughts about the state of play that you have?
I'm just excited, and it's like now I'm like, I've been scouring like eBay and Mercari and like other secondhand sites to find a PS5 cheap, because I'm like, I have to play this. If nothing else on the PS5, at least this,
Yeah, this is awesome. Yeah, this is exclusive to PS5, so you're gonna have to, get a PS5
After I
or
just
wait a
bought,
while. Yeah, after you
let's
just
say,
got a
after I just
4,
bought the damn PS4,
and
I'm
and you just played Ghost of Tsushima, and then you're like, God damn it.
right now I have to my whole separate thing, but it's fine. I'm sure it'll be worth it.
Yeah,
So not too bad.
and there's other games. Plus, you can play a better version of Cyberpunk.
True.
But yeah, it's I'm excited for this game. I can't remember when it releases. Let me look it up real quick. It's in October. I know that much. It's October 2nd. So not too long from now. But yeah, excited. That's all I got.
Yeah, that's all I've got.
I'm Dijon. You can find my ads above me, and our areas ad above them. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to our channel if you want to see more storytelling content, and to click the notification bell so that you're notified when we post. Peace.
See ya.